She thought it was just an act of kindness. But his help sparks a storm she never saw coming: rumors, lies, and a small-town scandal that could destroy them both. Just as she's about to get the safe family car she's been dreaming of, a little boy points at him and says, "Mommy says you're my daddy." And the town erupts. Whispers turn to protests. A cruel video goes viral. Her son's safety is on the line, and his reputation is hanging by a thread. Can they uncover the truth and save each other's futures there? Will one lie tear their lives apart forever? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The early morning sun cast a gentle glow over Willow Bend, North Carolina, as Elena Morales guided her sputtering '98 sedan down Main Street. Her heart pounded with a mix of nerves and hope. Today was the day she had been working toward for months. She was finally going to buy a safer car for her and Benji. Benji, her 7-year-old son, sat quietly in the back seat. His big brown eyes, so much like his father's, watched the world outside with curiosity. He clutched his worn teddy bear, a gift from his late father, close to his chest. The streets were lined with quaint shops and old brick buildings, remnants of the town's once thriving mill industry. "Are we almost there, Mommy?" Benji asked, his voice small and tentative. "Yes, my amor," Elena replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Just a little further." She had saved every penny she could spare from her job as a housekeeper at Magnolia Courts. It hadn't been easy scrimping on groceries, skipping new clothes for herself, but it was worth it to provide something better for Benji. The old sedan had been their lifeline for years, but its constant breakdowns were a source of stress she could no longer ignore. As they neared Hartley Motors, Elena felt the familiar stutter of the engine beneath her hands. The car had been making strange noises all morning, but she had hoped it would hold out just a little longer. She whispered a silent prayer. "Please, just get us there." Suddenly, with a loud pop and a cloud of black smoke, the car jerked violently and stalled right in front of the dealership. Elena's heart sank as she struggled to restart the engine. It wouldn't budge. "Mommy?" Benji's voice trembled with fear. "It's okay, Benji," she said softly, reaching back to squeeze his hand reassuringly. "We're here now." Elena took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. Immediately she felt the weight of eyes on her. Customers and staff from Hartley Motors turned to look at the source of the commotion. Among them was Monty Klein, a young salesman known for his arrogance. Monty sauntered over with a smirk plastered on his face. He pulled out his phone and snapped a photo of the smoking car. "Looks like we got ourselves another junkyard trade-in," he announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. Laughter rippled through the small crowd that had gathered around. Elena's cheeks burned with humiliation as she glanced around at the amused faces. She wished she could disappear. Benji climbed out of the back seat and immediately hid behind her legs, clutching her skirt tightly. His wide eyes peeked out nervously at the strangers around them. "Hey, lady," Monty continued with an exaggerated tone of pity, "you might want to try selling this thing for scrap metal instead." Elena swallowed hard and stood tall. She refused to let them see how much their mockery hurt. "I'm here to buy a used minivan," she said firmly. Monty raised an eyebrow and let out a mocking chuckle. "With what money? Monopoly dollars?" More laughter erupted from the crowd. Elena clenched her fists at her sides, fighting back tears of frustration and shame. A soft voice broke through the laughter, a man's voice that carried quiet authority without raising in volume. "That's enough." The crowd fell silent as Graham Hartley stepped forward from among them. He was dressed in casual business attire, crisp white shirt, rolled up at the sleeves, and neatly pressed slack-sand. He carried himself with an air of quiet confidence. Graham approached Elena with kind eyes that contrasted sharply with Monty's sneering expression. "Ma'am," he said gently, "may I take a look at your car?" Elena nodded wordlessly, feeling a surge of gratitude toward this stranger who seemed intent on helping rather than mocking her. Graham took the keys from her trembling hand and opened the hood of the car. He examined it carefully while murmuring instructions to 2 service technicians who had hurried over at his signal. As Graham worked on diagnosing the problem under the hood, Monty hovered nearby, looking increasingly uncomfortable under his boss's watchful eye. "What are you doing?" Monty muttered under his breath when he thought no one was listening. Graham straightened up slowly and fixed Monty with a stern gaze that brooked no argument. "I'm doing my job," he said simply before turning back to Elena with an apologetic smile. "I'm sorry about all this." Graham said softly so, only she could hear him over all those watching eyes still glued on them both like hawks circling their prey above carrion, left out too long beneath hot sunbeams, bearing down heavily upon cracked pavement below, bare, to feet padding nervously along its uneven surface, without so much hope left inside, hearts beating rapidly within rib cages, heaving heavily against tightened skin. Elena's hands trembled as she stepped out of the car. The stench of burnt oil and gasoline filled the air, and she felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment. She tried to ignore the curious stares of onlookers, focusing instead on the reason she was here for Benji's sake. Monty Klein approached with a swagger that made Elena's stomach churn. He was young, probably in his late 20s, with a head full of gelled hair and a grin that screamed trouble. "Having a little car trouble, are we?" Monty sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. He circled the car like a predator, snapping another photo with his phone. "This old thing looks like it belongs in a museum." Elena swallowed hard, trying to maintain her composure. "I just need to get it checked," she stammered. "It started making noises this morning." Monty raised an eyebrow and leaned against the car, his grin widening. "Noises, huh? Sounds like you need more than just a checkup. This baby's on its last legs." Benji peeked out from behind Elena, his small hand clutching her coat. Monty's gaze flicked to the boy, and his smirk turned into a mocking smile. "Well, aren't you just adorable?" he said to Benji in a patronizing tone. "Bet you can't wait to ride in something that doesn't sound like it's going to explode." Elena felt a surge of protectiveness wash over her. She wanted to shield Benji from Monty's cruel words, but before she could say anything, a new voice cut through the air. "That's enough, Monty." The voice was calm and steady, carrying an authority that made everyone turn their heads. A tall man with salt and pepper hair and warm brown eyes stepped forward. He wore a crisp white shirt with rolled-up sleeves and dark slacks that hinted at his broad shoulders and sturdy build. Elena watched as the man walked over with purposeful strides. He didn't rush, he didn't need to. His presence alone seemed to command respect. Monty's smirk faltered slightly as he straightened up. "I was just—" "I know what you were doing," the man interrupted gently but firmly. "Give me the keys." Elena hesitated for a moment before handing over her keys. The man took them without judgment or condescension, only quiet determination. "Let's get this looked at," he said softly to Elena before turning his attention to one of the mechanics nearby. "Pete, can you come over here for a moment?" A burly mechanic in grease-stained overalls emerged from the service bay and jogged over. "Sure thing, Mr. Hartley." "Take this car into the service bay," Mr. Hartley instructed calmly. "Let's see what we're dealing with." As Pete nodded and got to work, Elena couldn't help but feel a wave of relief wash over her. For once, someone was treating her with kindness instead of scorn. Mr. Hartley turned back to Elena and offered her a reassuring smile. "Why don't you come inside? We can discuss your options while they take a look at your car." Elena glanced around nervously at the watching crowd but found solace in Mr. Hartley's warm eyes. "Thank you," she said quietly as he led her toward the dealership office. As they walked past the other customers and staff, one woman called out cheerfully, "Morning, Mr. Hartley!" The greeting echoed through Elena's mind as realization dawned on her. This wasn't just any man offering help. He owned Hartley Motors. Monty went pale at this revelation. He looked as if all color had drained from his face in an instant, a stark contrast from his earlier arrogance. Mr. Hartley noticed Monty still standing there awkwardly lingering. "Monty, why don't you take care of another customer?" His tone wasn't harsh, but held enough weight that left no room for argument. "Yes, sir," Monty replied meekly, shuffling off. Once inside, Graham guided Elena towards his office, situated along one corner side, spacious yet homely-looking, adorned family photographs dotting walls behind oak desk. He gestured towards one comfortable chair's opposite side. "Please sit down, Miss Morales," Graham said kindly. "Thank you," she replied, once more settling into seat. She felt strange mixture, emotions, nervousness, mingled gratitude despite circumstances facing her. Graham moved towards small coffee machine placed nearby, filling 2 cups, bringing them back, handing one gently smiling. "Here's something warm, should help calm nerves little bit." "Thank you," repeated, feeling warmth. Cup seeped through fingers, reassuring somehow, amidst turmoil day unfolding around them. Graham took sip before speaking again, voice gentle, probing without prying. "So, Miss Morales, how can we assist today?" "Well," started uncertainly, pausing moment, gathering thoughts. "I've been saving months. Buy reliable minivan. Say for me, my son." Glancing lovingly Benji, quietly sitting corner, engrossed coloring book kindly. Handed earlier receptionist, noticing anxiety mother brought along. "I understand." Graham nodded empathetically, placing cup down, leaning slightly forward. "We'll make sure find best possible option within budget, rest assured." For first time, whole ordeal sense hope began blossom. Within heart, timidly, grateful stranger, stepping light, kindness amidst darkness, ridicule surrounding moments ago. As mechanics continued working diligently outside bay doors, bustling background, silently reassuring reminder problems, faced surmountable community-caring individuals, ready lend hand when needed most. Graham Hartley's presence seemed to lift the weight of embarrassment from Elena's shoulders. He led her through the showroom, past rows of gleaming cars, each one more beautiful than the last. Benji clung to her hand, his eyes wide with wonder as he looked around. "Mommy, look at that one," he whispered, pointing at a sleek red convertible. Elena smiled and gave his hand a gentle squeeze. "We're looking for something a bit more practical," she murmured, though her heart warmed at Benji's excitement. Graham stopped in front of a silver minivan that seemed to glow under the showroom lights. It was a 2016 model, well kept and polished to perfection. Elena could hardly believe her eyes. "This is one of our best pre-owned vehicles," Graham explained. "It's been meticulously maintained and has all the safety features you'd want for Benji." Elena's breath caught in her throat as she took in the minivan. It looked almost new, with its sleek lines and spotless exterior. She could already picture herself driving it, Benji safely buckled in the back seat. Graham opened the door and gestured for her to take a look inside. "Go ahead, sit in it, see how it feels." Elena hesitated for a moment before climbing into the driver's seat. The interior was spacious and clean, with comfortable seats and modern features. She ran her fingers over the steering wheel, hardly daring to believe this could be hers. Benji scrambled into the back seat, his face lighting up with joy. "Mommy, look, it has cup holders." Elena laughed softly, feeling a rare sense of hope bloom in her chest. She turned to Graham, who was watching her with a gentle smile. "This is wonderful," she said quietly, "but I don't know if I can afford it." Graham nodded understandingly. "I understand your concern, Elena. That's why I'm offering you an employee family discount. It's something we do for our staff and their families, but I'd like to extend it to you." Elena's eyes widened in surprise. "That's very generous of you." "It's the least we can do," Graham replied warmly. "Now, let me explain your financing options." He guided her through the process with patience and clarity, breaking down each step so that she could understand it fully. He explained how the discount would lower the price significantly, and discussed various payment plans that could fit her budget. "I'll personally ensure you get a fair deal," Graham promised. "We'll work with you to find something manageable." As they talked, Elena felt a sense of relief wash over her. For so long, she had been struggling just to make ends meet, always worried about what might go wrong next. But here was someone offering her a chancea, real chancea, improve their situation. Meanwhile, Monty was called into Tessa Vaughn's office for disciplinary action. Tessa was known for her professionalism and efficiency, and she didn't tolerate any behavior that reflected poorly on the dealership. Monty walked into her office with an air of defiance, but Tessa didn't let it faze her. She looked up from her desk with a stern expression. "Monty," she began firmly, "your behavior this morning was completely unacceptable." Monty shrugged nonchalantly. "I was just having some fun." "Mocking a customer is not fun," Tessa retorted sharply. "It's unprofessional and cruel." Monty shifted uncomfortably under her gaze but didn't say anything. Tessa continued. "We pride ourselves on treating every customer with respect and dignity, regardless of their circumstances. What you did goes against everything this dealership stands for." Monty looked down at his shoes, finally realizing the gravity of his actions. "You'll be undergoing additional training on customer relations," Tessa said decisively. "And consider this your final warning. Any further incidents will result in more severe consequences." "Yes, ma'am," Monty muttered reluctantly before leaving her office. Back on the showroom floor, Graham finished explaining the financing options to Elena. He handed her some brochures and paperwork to review at home. "Take your time going through these," he advised gently. "If you have any questions, or need assistance with anything else along the way, please don't hesitate to reach out directly." Elena nodded gratefully as she took hold of all those papers filled with numbers, hope radiating from within, as gratitude sparkled in those brown eyes now locked onto his earnest ones, which spoke volumes without uttering another word. "Thank you, Mr. Hartley, for seeing us as more than just a customer, but human beings worthy of dignity and compassion in this journey called life." With renewed hope glimmering inside her heart, where once only despair dwelled darkly, they bid farewell before heading back towards what awaited outside those glass doors, marking transition between possibility within confines, dealership versus harsh reality beyond its sanctuary. As they reached their car, still parked where smoke billowed earlier amidst taunts hurled mercilessly, Graham extended hand towards open hood, signaling Pete Mechanic nearby check under hood, again ensuring nothing further caused problems during drive home. Elena watched intently while Pete worked quickly, diagnosing issue temporarily fixed, allowing safe passage till permanent repairs completed later date, when funds allowed without straining, already tight budget stretched thin, supporting safe passage. Family. Thank you. Again, Mr. Hartley. For everything. Today. Voice trailed off slightly, choking back emotions swirling inside, making words difficult, express adequately depth, gratitude felt deeply within soul. "No need thank me, Elena. Just doing what right, helping neighbors whenever can. Small town like Willow Bend, we all look out one another." Gentle reassurance conveyed sincerity, embedded core values, lived daily basis, guiding principles underpinning everything done, professionally, personally, alike, reflecting integrity, respect, compassion, intertwined, seamlessly defining character, respected, admired community. With final nod, goodbye shared between newfound allies, united common purpose, forging ahead, brighter future together, despite challenges faced individually, collectively persevering through adversity, emerging stronger, resilient, ever determined. Create better world. Children deserving live, thrive, abundantly, free, fear, want, secure foundation built upon faith, love, grace enduring, eternally guiding light, illuminating path forward. Climbing back behind wheel. Familiar, albeit unreliable. Sedan sputtering hesitantly. Momentarily settling rhythm enough journey onward, homeward bound, carrying precious cargo nestled securely. Rear seat, now quiet, contemplative, reflecting. Day's events transpired, unexpectedly, transforming lives immeasurably, ways unforeseen. Anticipated morning dawned, bleak prospects, uncertain horizons, suddenly expanding possibilities, unimaginable, mere hours prior. As engine roared life, reluctantly compliant task set before. Trudging along familiar route, winding streets lined, towering trees casting dappled shadows, pavement below, whispering secrets centuries past history, etched bark, gnarled limbs. reaching skyward, seeking solace shelter amongst stars, twinkling faintly above, reminding fleeting nature, existence grounded, earthbound realities, tethered mortal plane, transcending temporal boundaries, eternal truths, anchored firmly hearts, minds, souls, yearning, transcendence beyond confines, physical realm embracing infinite potentiality, waiting, discovery, exploration, unfoldment, moment, present, captured essence, being fully alive, vibrant, interconnected web, weaving, tapestry life. Intricately interwoven threads, diverse experiences, unique yet universally shared, common humanity. Uniting disparate elements, harmonious, whole, encompassing beauty, diversity richness, depth beyond comprehension, prayers whispered softly, lips forming silent plea, divine intervention, guiding protecting loved ones, journey undertaken, faith, courage, resilience, amidst uncertainty, trusting unseen hand, orchestrating symphony grace unfolding. Each step taken, purposefully, intentionally aligned, highest good, collective well-being, serving greater cause, transcending individual aspirations, embracing communal vision, uplifting, empowering, inspiring, transformation, ripple effect, extending far beyond. Immediate sphere, influence touching countless lives, ways unseen, unknown, rippling outward concentric circles, expanding ever wider, reaching, touching, impacting profoundly deeply, eternally everlasting, legacy love, compassion, kindness, hope, faith, guiding principles, shaping, molding, future generations, inheriting mantle, responsibility, stewardship, guardianship, sacred trust, entrusted, ensuring preservation, continuity, cherished values, traditions passed down through ages, enduring, test time, evolving, adapting, changing, dynamically, responding needs, challenges, opportunities arising, context, contemporary realities, navigating complexities, modern existence, anchored, timeless wisdom, perennial truths, guiding light, illuminating, path forward. Arriving home finally safe sound, despite vehicle's precarious state relief, washed over enveloping warmly cocooned embrace. Sanctuary, humble abode, modest yet filled warmth. Love, laughter, echoes, resonating walls, bearing witness countless memories, shared, cherished, holding space, nurturing growth, healing, renewal, regeneration, blossoming anew, season following winter's dormancy, ushering spring, rebirth, renewal, bursting forth, exuberance, vitality, renewed vigor, enthusiasm, zest, living fully, vibrantly, passionately, wholeheartedly, embracing life, all richness, fullness, beauty, contained within precious fleeting moments, strung together, forming intricate mosaic tapestry, woven threads, experiences, joys, sorrows, triumphs, trials, successes, failures, interwoven, creating unique masterpiece, reflection, journey undertaken, walked courageously, faithfully guided light, illuminating darkness, dispelling shadows, revealing hidden depths, treasures awaiting discovery, unfolding continuously, infinitely, boundlessly, eternally. And thus concluded. Chapter Days events transpired unexpectedly, transforming lives, immeasurably, ways, unforeseen, anticipated, morning dawned, bleak prospects, uncertain horizons, suddenly expanding possibilities, unimaginable, mere hours, prior journey. Undertaken, faith, courage, resilience amidst uncertainty, trusting unseen hand, orchestrating symphony grace, unfolding each step taken purposefully, intentionally aligned, highest good collective well-being, serving greater cause, transcending individual aspirations, embracing communal vision, uplifting, empowering, inspiring, transformation, ripple effect, extending far beyond immediate sphere, influence touching countless lives, ways unseen, unknown, rippling outward. Concentric circles, expanding, ever, wider reaching, touching, impacting, profoundly, deeply, eternally, everlasting legacy, love, compassion, kindness, hope, faith, guiding principles, shaping, molding, future generations, inheriting mantle responsibility. Stewardship, guardianship, sacred trust, entrusted, ensuring preservation, continuity, cherished values, traditions passed down through ages, enduring test time, evolving, adapting, changing, dynamically, responding needs, challenges, opportunities. A rising context, contemporary realities, navigating complexities, modern existence, anchored timeless wisdom, perennial truths, guiding light, illuminating path forward. Elena Morales stood at the stove, flipping pancakes as the morning sun streamed in. The cozy kitchen smelled of breakfast, and Benji eagerly watched her. "Mommy, can I have chocolate chips in my pancakes?" he asked, excited. Elena smiled. "Of course, mijo. Just a few, though. No need for too much sugar." She added chocolate chips to the batter on the griddle. Benji clapped, delighted. As she cooked, Elena recalled the kindness Graham Hartley had shown her and Benji at Hartley Motors. The employee family discount on the minivan felt miraculous after their struggles. Her phone's shrill ring interrupted her thoughts. An unknown number flashed on the screen. Setting down the spatula, she answered. "Hello? Good morning, Mrs. Morales. This is Diane from Hartley Motors Finance Office. I'm calling about your loan application." Elena's heart raced. "Thank you for calling," she replied, trying to stay calm. "We've run into an issue," Diane continued. "The bank flagged your application due to an identity mismatch related to your late husband's estate." A chill ran through Elena. "An identity mismatch? What does that mean?" "An error in paperwork from years ago," Diane explained. "We need to correct it to proceed with your loan." Elena swallowed, feeling despair. The thought of losing the minivan was overwhelming. "What can I do to fix it?" she asked, her voice shaky. "We're looking into it," Diane reassured. "Mr. Hartley knows, and he wants to help you resolve this." Elena nodded, though Diane couldn't see her. "Thank you for the update." After hanging up, she stood still, gripping her phone as worry gnawed at her. She couldn't look at Benji, who had been listening. "Mommy, are we going to get the new car?" he asked softly. Elena forced a smile and ruffled his hair. "We're working on it, sweetie. It might take a little longer." Benji's face fell, but he nodded. "Okay." Elena returned to the stove, cooking with a heavy heart. She served Benji first, adding extra chocolate chips, despite knowing it wouldn't fully lift their spirits. As they ate in silence, she thought of Graham's promise to help. Could he really assist them through this? "Mommy, what if Mr. Hartley can't fix it?" Benji asked. Elena took a deep breath. "Then we'll find another way." Her words were simple yet significant. Elena Morales wasn't giving up on securing their future amidst the challenges they faced. After breakfast, Elena washed the dishes while Benji played with his toys. Her hands moved automatically while her mind wrestled with uncertainty about their financial situation. Once the dishes were clean, she felt lost amid her worries. The recent news complicated their already challenging circumstances, casting a shadow over her hopes for stability. Knowing she needed to tackle this issue proactively, Elena refused to wait for a miracle. She resolved to confront the problem directly, determined to achieve the outcome they needed despite the challenges ahead. Elena plowed forward with unwavering determination to secure a better future for Benji. She believed that together they could navigate the obstacles, drawing strength from their bond. Monday morning dawned bright and early in Willow Bend. The town was slowly coming to life as people went about their daily routines. Elena Morales, however, was already up and ready to face the day. She had an appointment at Hartley Motors to sign some paperwork updates for her loan application. The issue with the identity mismatch linked to her late husband's estate had been a huge worry over the weekend, but she hoped that today they would be able to resolve it. Elena dressed in a simple but neat outfit, trying to project confidence even though she felt anxious inside. She made sure Benji was dressed and ready as well. He was excited about going to the dealership again, especially since they had a small children's reading nook where he could look at picture books while she handled the paperwork. "Are you ready, Benji?" she asked, smiling at her son as he finished tying his shoes. "Yes, Mommy," he said enthusiastically, grabbing his backpack filled with a few of his favorite toys and books. Elena took a deep breath and headed out the door with Benji in tow. They walked to the bus stop, where they caught the bus that would take them to Main Street. The ride was uneventful, and soon enough, they arrived at Hartley Motors. As they entered the dealership, Elena was greeted by the familiar hum of activity. Salespeople were busy assisting customers, and mechanics could be seen working in the service bay through the large windows. Elena made her way to the front desk where Diane from the finance office was waiting for her. "Good morning, Mrs. Morales," Diane said with a warm smile. "Thank you for coming in today." "Good morning," Elena replied politely. "I hope we can get this paperwork sorted out." "I'm sure we will," Diane assured her. "If you'll just follow me, we have a few documents for you to sign." Elena nodded and turned to Benji. "Why don't you go over to the reading nook while I take care of this? I'll be right back." Benji nodded eagerly and headed over to the small corner of the showroom that had been set up with colorful rugs, bean bags, and shelves filled with children's books. Elena followed Diane into a small office where they began going over the necessary paperwork. As she signed document after document, Elena couldn't help but feel a knot of anxiety in her stomach. She hoped that everything would be resolved soon so she could finally get the minivan she so desperately needed. Meanwhile, in the reading nook, Benji settled into a beanbag with a picture book about cars. He was completely engrossed in his book when he noticed another little boy about his age wandering into the area. The boy had sandy blonde hair and bright blue eyes full of curiosity. "Hi," Benji said cheerfully. "I'm Benji." The boy looked at him shyly before responding. "I'm Caleb." "Do you want to look at books with me?" Benji asked. Caleb nodded and sat down next to Benji, picking up a book about trucks. They started talking about their favorite vehicles when suddenly Caleb's eyes widened as he spotted someone across the showroom floor. "There he is!" Caleb exclaimed loudly, pointing towards Graham Hartley, who was walking through the dealership. Benji looked confused but curious as Caleb stood up and shouted across the room, "Mommy says you're my daddy!" The room fell silent almost instantly as everyone turned to look at Caleb. Graham froze in his tracks, his expression one of utter shock and confusion. Elena's heart skipped a beat as she watched from inside Diane's office. A woman came rushing over from another part of the dealership, her face flushed with embarrassment. It was Marla Jensen, one of Elena's fellow housekeepers who often worked nearby. "Caleb, what are you saying?" Marla scolded gently but urgently as she reached him and placed her hands on his shoulders. Caleb looked up at her innocently. "Mommy says Mr. Hartley is my daddy," he repeated earnestly. Graham's face paled as he took in what Caleb was saying. He looked at Marla with confusion written all over his face. "I've never met you before," Graham said quietly but firmly. Marla's cheeks flushed even deeper red as she stammered out an explanation. "I'm so sorry, there must be some mistake. I don't know why Caleb would say that." Tessa Vaughn quickly intervened from across the showroom floor, where she had been talking with another customer. She hurried over and gently but firmly took charge of the situation. "Let's move this conversation into my office," Tessa said calmly but decisively. She gestured for Graham and Marla to follow her, while giving an apologetic smile towards Elena, who stood nearby watching everything unfold with wide eyes. The showroom buzzed with whispers and curious glances as Tessa led Graham, Marla, and Caleb into a back office away from prying eyes and ears. Elena felt a pang of sympathy for both Graham and Marlathis. Kind of public scene must be mortifying for them both. But she also couldn't help feeling anxious about how this unexpected turn of events might affect her own situation with securing the minivan loan approval process, now under such scrutiny, again due to unforeseen circumstances beyond anyone's control or expectation alike. Gossip swirled around like wildfire among staff members witnessing everything firsthand. Did Mr. Hartley really have secret past relationships no one knew about? What implications could arise if such claims proved true after all? Despite initial denials expressed so adamantly just moments ago before everyone's eyes present there together, collectively witnessing whole ordeal unfold live. What impact might these revelations bring forth onto entire dealership operations moving forward? Now potentially threatened reputationally speaking too, besides purely financial aspects alone, already struggling amidst ongoing economic challenges faced globally nowadays, universally affecting businesses everywhere, big or small alike? That afternoon, Graham Hartley sat alone in his office at Hartley Motors. The usual calm and collected businessman was nowhere to be found. Instead, a man visibly rattled by the unexpected morning's events occupied his chair. His fingers drummed nervously on the mahogany desk, a stark contrast to the stillness of the room. The dealership's hum of activity outside seemed a distant murmur, drowned out by the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. A soft knock on the door broke through his reverie. Graham looked up to see Elena Morales standing hesitantly in the doorway, a small smile on her face and 2 steaming cups of coffee in her hands. "I thought you might need this," she said gently, stepping into the office. Graham managed a weak smile in return. "Thank you, Elena, I appreciate it." Elena placed 1 cup in front of him and took a seat across from his desk. She could see the worry etched into his features and felt a pang of empathy for him. Despite their brief acquaintance, Graham had shown her kindness and dignity when she needed it most. Now, it was her turn to offer support. "How are you holding up?" she asked softly. Graham sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "Honestly, I'm not sure. This morning was unexpected, to say the least." Elena nodded, understanding all too well the feeling of life throwing curveballs. "I can imagine, but I believe things will work out. Sometimes we just need to take it one step at a time." Before Graham could respond, there was another knock at the door. This time, it was Pastor Alton Reed, his presence bringing an air of calm authority into the room. "May I come in?" Pastor Reed asked with his usual gentle demeanor. "Of course, Pastor," Graham replied, gesturing for him to take a seat. Pastor Reed settled into one of the chairs beside Elena, offering her a warm smile before turning his attention to Graham. "I heard about what happened this morning," Pastor Reed began, his voice steady and reassuring. "It seems like quite a situation has developed." Graham nodded wearily. "That's putting it mildly." Pastor Reed leaned forward slightly, clasping his hands together. "I think it's important that we address this matter calmly and privately. Rumors can spread like wildfire in a small town like Willow Bend, and we need to ensure that the truth is what guides us." Graham listened intently as Pastor Reed continued. "I suggest that we have a private conversation between you, Marla Jensen, and Elena here," Pastor Reed proposed. "It will give everyone a chance to speak openly and sort truth from rumor without the interference of public opinion." Graham hesitated for a moment before nodding slowly. "I agree that something needs to be done, but I'm not sure how effective it will be." Pastor Reed's eyes softened with understanding. "I know it's difficult to face such accusations head-on, especially when they're untrue, but transparency is our best ally here. By having an open dialogue in a controlled environment, we can start to piece together what really happened." Elena looked between the 2 men and felt compelled to speak up. "I think it's a good idea," she said earnestly. "Graham has been nothing but kind and fair since I walked through those doors. If there's any way I can help clear this up, I want to be part of it." Graham gave her an appreciative nod before turning back to Pastor Reed. "All right," he agreed finally. "Let's do it." "Excellent," Pastor Reed said with a nod of approval. "I'll arrange for us to meet tomorrow evening at St. Luke's Church Hall. It will be a safe space for everyone involved." With that decided, Pastor Reed stood up and gave both Graham and Elena reassuring smiles before leaving the office. Elena lingered for a moment longer after he left, feeling the weight of what they were about to undertake settling on her shoulders. "You're not alone in this," she told Graham firmly as she rose from her chair. Graham met her gaze with gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you, Elena," he said softly. As Elena left Graham's office and walked through the bustling dealership once more on her way out, she couldn't help but think about how quickly life could change with just one sentence from an innocent child's mouth. "Mommy says you're my daddy." The words had ignited gossip among customers and staff alike within minutes. Now they had no choice but to confront them head-on if they wanted any hope of quelling those rumors before they caused irreparable damage, just for Graham, but also for Marla Jensenond, indirectly impacting many others connected Overme. By threads unseen until now. Elena knew deep down that facing challenges like these required courage, built over years spent navigating financial hardships while raising Benji alone after losing her husband far too soon. Tomorrow evening would test their resolve even further than today had done already. But one thing remained clear above all else. United efforts would prevail where solitary struggles might falter. The following day passed in tense anticipation as word spread throughout Willow Bend about the impending meeting at St. Luke's Church Hall, scheduled later that evening. In preparation for what lay ahead, both emotionally charged revelations, yet hopeful resolutions possibly awaiting them all, Graham found himself reflecting upon past experiences shaping who he'd become today. Despite personal trials faced previously divorce, marred by prejudice, alongside professional responsibilities inheriting family business, he understood importance, seeking justice tempered mercy. As dusk approached, signaling end daylight hours marking beginning next chapter unfolding soon thereafter within sacred walls, offering sanctuary amidst chaos outside world oftentimes. Gathering thoughts, whilst finishing last few tasks, requiring attention prior departure dealership, premises heading towards designated venue hosting, pivotal discussion, destined altering course, many lives intertwined fatefully. Henceforth. Upon arrival, parking lot adjacent, St. Luke's familiar sight welcomed eyes, the comforting silhouette, iconic steeple, reaching towards heavens, reminding timeless truths, guiding principles, grounding faith, enduring through ages, countless generations. Entering building greeted warmth, emanating both physical surroundings, spiritual atmosphere, pervading every corner sanctuary, representing haven solace weary souls seeking refuge amidst storms. Life invariably brings along journey undertaken by each individual, uniquely yet universally shared human experience. Inside Church Hall, arranged seating, carefully positioned, fostering sense equality, respect, ensuring participants felt valued, contributions, dialogue facilitated, smoothly encouraging, openness, honesty, fostering mutual understanding, healing, ultimately achieved collectively, rather than fragmented attempts, addressing issues separately, leading nowhere productive outcomes, desired earnestly hearts minds, gathered purposefully, herein tonight. Pastor Alton Reed stood center stage, radiating quiet confidence, exuding presence, naturally commanding attention without imposing upon others' space, allowing conversations flow organically directed course, necessary paths, discovered along way, unfolding events, guiding light, illuminating darkness, uncertainties surrounding circumstances, needing clarification, resolution urgently sought after, eagerly anticipated forthcoming revelations, providing closure, essential moving forward. Positively rebuilding trust, restoring harmony, community deeply impacted recent developments, shaking foundations, seemingly stable environment, now requiring reconstruction anew. Solid footing, established firmly, once again resiliently facing future challenges arising inevitably yet confidently embraced, knowing strength, unity, overcoming adversity, time-tested, proven true, repeatedly throughout history. Humankind demonstrating remarkable capacity, adapt, grow, evolve, ever-changing landscape, existence itself, presenting opportunities, learning growth, continuous journey, embarked upon collectively, always ultimately leading towards greater understanding, compassion, love, transcending barriers, dividing us. Initially perceived insurmountable, ultimately conquered together, steadfast determination, unwavering faith, guiding principles, lighting path ahead, unwaveringly. Thus began pivotal meeting, destined shaping destiny lives, forever altered events transpiring herein tonight. As each participant arrived, taking designated seats assigned, thoughtfully accommodating needs, preferences, creating comfortable, inclusive environment, conducive meaningful interactions, productive outcomes, desired earnestly, all present. Genuinely invested process, undertaking collectively realizing significance, importance, moment, shared together herein tonight, impacting future, individually, collectively, broader context, encompassing entire community interconnected ways seen, unseen alike. Weaving intricate tapestry. Human experience, rich, diverse, vibrant colors. Threads uniting, forming beautiful masterpiece, reflecting essence. Humanity itself, transcending boundaries, divisions perceived, initially seemingly daunting, ultimately surmounted united effort, unwavering commitment, shared vision, common goal, aspiring higher ideals, bringing forth best within ourselves, reaching beyond limitations perceived, selflessly giving generously, others embodying spirit love, compassion, empathy, driving force behind actions, undertaken henceforth, shaping destiny, future generations, following footsteps, laid groundwork, solid foundation, built upon moving forward, confidently facing challenges, arising inevitably along, journey, embarked upon, collectively, always ultimately leading towards greater understanding, compassion, love, transcending barriers, dividing us initially perceived, insurmountable, ultimately conquered together, steadfast determination. Unwavering faith, guiding principles, lighting path ahead, unwaveringly. Thus concluded. Preparations, setting stage, pivotal discussion, awaited eagerly. Hearts, minds gathered purposefully, herein tonight embarking journey, uncovering truth, dispelling rumors, restoring harmony, rebuilding trust, strengthening bonds. Uniting, community once again, resiliently, facing future challenges, arising inevitably, yet confidently embraced. Knowing strength, unity, overcoming adversity, time-tested, proven true repeatedly throughout history. Humankind demonstrating remarkable capacity, adapt, grow, evolve, ever-changing landscape, existence itself, presenting opportunities, learning growth, continuous journey, embarked upon collectively, always ultimately leading towards greater understanding, compassion, love, transcending barriers, dividing us, initially perceived insurmountable, ultimately conquered together, steadfast determination, unwavering faith, guiding principles, lighting path ahead, unwaveringly. Monday evening, at Elena's modest duplex, the aroma of a rose con polo filled the small kitchen. Elena stirred the pot, her movements methodical and calming, as she glanced over at Benji, who was busy setting the table. The day had been long, filled with more questions than answers, but this simple act of preparing dinner for her son grounded her. "Is it ready yet, Mama?" Benji asked, his big brown eyes looking up at her with a mixture of hunger and curiosity. "Almost, mijo," Elena replied with a smile. "Just a few more minutes." Benji nodded and went back to arranging the silverware with precision. Elena couldn't help but feel a swell of pride at how responsible he was for his age. She knew it hadn't been easy for him moving from place to place, watching her struggle, but he never complained. He was her little rock. Once everything was ready, they sat down to eat. The warmth of the meal contrasted with the coolness of the evening air that drifted in through the open window. As they began to eat, Benji's mind seemed to be elsewhere. He took a few bites before setting his fork down and looking at Elena with a serious expression. "Mama," he began hesitantly, "what did Caleb mean when he said Mr. Graham was his daddy?" Elena paused, her fork halfway to her mouth. She had known this question would come sooner or later. Taking a deep breath, she set her fork down and reached across the table to hold Benji's small hand. "Benji," she started gently, "sometimes people say things that aren't true or that they don't fully understand." Benji furrowed his brow, clearly trying to process this information. "But why would Caleb say that if it's not true?" Elena sighed softly. "Well, Caleb might have heard something or misunderstood something that made him believe it was true. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes too, and it can be confusing." Benji nodded slowly but still seemed troubled. "Does that mean Caleb lied?" Elena shook her head firmly. "No, mijo, I don't think Caleb lied on purpose. He probably just doesn't know the whole story." She could see that Benji was still wrestling with his thoughts, so she squeezed his hand reassuringly. "What's important is that we show kindness to others, even when it's hard or when we don't understand why they do certain things." Benji looked up at her with wide eyes. "But what if people are mean to us?" Elena's heart ached at his innocent question. She knew firsthand how cruel people could be, and how difficult it was to remain kind in the face of such meanness. "Being kind doesn't mean we let people hurt us," she explained softly. "It means we choose not to hurt them back. It means we try to understand their pain and respond with love instead of anger." Benji seemed to ponder this for a moment before nodding slowly. "Okay, Mama." They continued eating in companionable silence for a while longer until their plates were empty and their bellies full. After dinner, Elena washed the dishes while Benji dried them and put them away. With the chores done, Elena went to her small bedroom and knelt beside her bed for some quiet time of prayer. She closed her eyes and folded her hands together. "Dear Lord," she whispered softly, "please give me wisdom and strength during these challenging times. Help me to guide Benji with love and understanding, and show us the path we need to take." She sat there in silence for a few moments longer, letting the peace of prayer wash over her weary heart before rising to her feet. As she walked back into the living room where Benji was now coloring quietly at the coffee table, she noticed that, outside the window, a light rain had begun to fall, a soothing backdrop against the stillness of their home. "Looks like it's raining," Elena remarked gently as she joined Benji on the couch. Benji looked up from his drawing and smiled softly. "I like the rain," he said simply. Elena smiled back at him before turning her attention to a stack of documents on the coffee table, papers she needed for the bank regarding the loan for the minivan they so desperately needed. She carefully reviewed each document under the warm glow of a nearby lamp while Benji continued coloring beside Haerhe's quiet presence, bringing comfort amidst all uncertainties swirling around them both lately. Once satisfied, everything was in order with those documents needed for tomorrow's meeting at St. Luke's Church Hall, where Pastor Reed had arranged for them all meet privately sort out truths from rumors. Elena have them aside neatly on one corner of table before moving on to next task, preparing clothes herself. Benji would wear tomorrow evening meeting itself too. She walked over wardrobe, selecting simple yet respectful outfits, appropriate occasion, placing hers, son's neatly laid out bedspread ready morning ahead. Despite today's events pressing heavily upon shoulders, knowing faced more challenges ahead, still found solace, knowing did best remain, calm, collected, offering support wherever possible, and above all else remembered importance, showing kindness, even hardest moments, life through way. After laying out clothes for church meeting following evening, including freshly ironed blouse, paired modest skirt, herself a long crisp, clean shirt, matching pants, young son, finally took moment, sit down, relax, bit, alongside. Precious boy quietly absorbed, creating colorful masterpiece. Front him coffee table nearby. For few brief moments allowed herself simply bask warmth, homely surroundings, contentedly watching beloved child, happily engrossed favorite pastime, despite everything going around outside world beyond walls, tiny duplex they called home. Together. Shared bond, unbreakable love, trust, faith, kept strong throughout years, struggles, triumphs alike. Eventually, though, reality crept back, forefront mind reminding needed stay focused, prepared whatever lay ahead next days, weeks, months, uncertain future might bring forth. But regardless, remained steadfast determination, face whatever challenges may arise, head on, knowing ultimately guided by unwavering belief, power, compassion, understanding, always prevail. End. And so, night wore on peacefully within confines. Humble abode, nestled heart, Willow Bend, North Carolina, where despite trials, tribulations faced daily life, there still existed glimmers, hope, courage, perseverance, illuminated path forward. Brighter tomorrow awaiting just beyond horizon. As final task night, carefully packed necessary documents, neatly folder, ensuring everything order ready, morning ahead, felt sense, quiet, satisfaction, knowing done best, prepare whatever may come, next steps journey towards securing better future, herself, young son both cherished dearly. Finally bid good night, sweet boy, tucking snugly bed, placing gentle kiss forehead, whispering soft prayer over sleeping form. May angels watch over, keep safe, always. With that last tender act, motherly love, turned lights out, headed own bedroom seeking much needed rest. Strength, face, another day, challenges, joys alike, waiting, greet dawn, new day, rising sun, casting warm golden rays across sleepy town. Willow Bend, NC, where story, resilience, hope, faith continued unfold. Each passing moment lives intertwined ever more closely shared experiences, forging bonds lasting lifetime beyond. Tuesday evening, the rain had stopped but left a damp chill in the air as people made their way into St. Luke's Community Hall. The building, old yet sturdy, stood as a beacon of hope and unity for Willow Bend. Inside, the soft hum of fluorescent lights buzzed above folding chairs arranged in a circle, each one representing a place for open hearts and difficult conversations. Elena walked in with Benji, who clung to her side. She gently patted his head and whispered for him to go play with the other kids in the corner where some toys were set up. Reluctantly, Benji obeyed, casting a worried glance back at his mother. Elena smiled reassuringly before turning her attention to the group gathered around the chairs. Graham Hartley stood by one of the windows, looking out into the darkening evening. His shoulders were tense, and his usually calm demeanor seemed strained. He turned as Pastor Reed approached him with a comforting pat on the back. "Thanks for coming, Graham," Pastor Reed said warmly. "This meeting will help clear things up." Graham nodded, his eyes shifting toward Marla Jensen, who sat with her hands tightly clasped in her lap. She looked anxious, her face pale under the harsh lighting. Elena took her seat quietly next to Marla, offering her a small smile of encouragement. Marla returned it weakly before looking down at her hands again. Pastor Reed took his place at the head of the circle and waited for everyone to settle in. The room fell silent, except for the occasional sound of children playing in the corner. "Thank you all for coming tonight," Pastor Reed began, his voice steady and calming. "We're here to seek truth and understanding, not to cast blame or judgment." He paused to let his words sink in before continuing. "Marla has brought forth some concerns that need addressing. We're here to listen and find a way forward." Marla took a deep breath and looked up, her eyes darting nervously between Graham and Pastor Reed. I don't know where to start," she stammered. "Take your time," Pastor Reed encouraged gently. Marla nodded and took another deep breath. "A few years ago," she began slowly, "my aunt told me that Graham might be Caleb's father." The room went still as everyone absorbed this revelation. "Your aunt?" Graham asked quietly, his brows furrowed in confusion. "Yes," Marla continued hesitantly. "She said she heard it from someone else who knew your family, but I was never sure if it was true or just gossip." Graham looked down at his hands, trying to process what he was hearing. Elena watched him closely, sensing the turmoil beneath his composed exterior. "I never met you before all this," Graham said softly after a moment. "I don't understand how this could have happened." Marla's eyes filled with tears as she shook her head. "I don't know either," she whispered, "but Caleb deserves to know the truth." Pastor Reed leaned forward slightly, his expression compassionate yet firm. "Graham," he said gently, "would you be willing to take a DNA test? It might give us some clarity." Graham looked up at Marla, then back at Pastor Reed before nodding slowly. "Yes, he agreed quietly. "I'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth." Elena felt a pang of sympathy for both Graham and Marla as she watched them grapple with their emotions. She knew firsthand how painful uncertainty could be, and how desperately they needed answers. "Thank you," Marla whispered gratefully through her tears. Pastor Reed offered her a kind smile before turning back to address everyone present. "Let's remember why we're here tonight, to seek truth with love and grace," he reminded them gently. He paused for a moment before continuing with quiet conviction, "May we hold each other up during this difficult time." Elena glanced around at everyone gathered there, Graham standing by resolutely, Marla sitting tearfully. Pastor Reed, exuding steady calm, felt an overwhelming sense of unity despite their struggles. She realized then how much strength lay within these simple gatherings at St. Luke's Show. Even amidst pain or confusion or doubt, they found ways toward healing through faith, fellowship together. As silence enveloped them once more after Pastor Reed's heartfelt words, they all took comfort knowing they weren't alone on this journey towards discovering truth together. The sound of children laughing softly in one corner mingled harmoniously with quiet conversations among adults, creating an atmosphere filled not only with solemnity but also hope, warmth, amidst trials faced by each individual present there that night. Finally, after ensuring everyone felt heard, understood during their meeting, Pastor Reed closed their gathering together using powerful prayer which resonated deeply within hearts, minds present there. "Dear Lord," began Pastor Reed humbly yet powerfully, "we come before you seeking your guidance, wisdom during these trying times. We ask you bless each person here tonight, granting them strength, courage, needed, face challenges ahead. May your love, grace, guide us towards finding truth, healing wounds caused by past uncertainties." He continued fervently invoking divine blessings upon all gathered within sacred walls of St. Luke's Community Hall that evening. "May your light shine brightly within hearts, leading us towards paths filled not only answers sought but also renewed faith, hope, love amidst difficulties encountered along life's journey." With final amen uttered reverently by Pastor Reed, echoed softly throughout room, bringing closure upon meaningful gathering held there. As people slowly began dispersing into cool, damp night outside following their prayerful meeting, they carried within hearts renewed sense purpose, strengthened by faith, hope shared among them that evening. Elena lingered briefly near entrance, watching others leave, feeling grateful deep inside, knowing despite hardships faced individually, collectively, they found solace support through such gatherings. She silently prayed, God continue guiding, protecting them all, especially dear ones involved directly within ongoing situation needing resolution soon. With heart-filled, renewed hope determination, Elena finally stepped out into cool night air, joining others, heading homeward, bound carrying within herself not only worries, uncertainties, but also unwavering faith, knowing together they'd overcome whatever challenges lay ahead, trusting God's plan unfold perfectly according His divine will. Thus ended another chapter, within lives intertwined beautifully, amidst trials, tribulations faced together, finding strength, unity, through faith, love shared among them all. Wednesday morning dawned clear and crisp over Willow Bend. The rain from the night before had left the streets gleaming, ready for a fresh start. Elena Morales walked purposefully toward Hartley Motors, Pastor Reed's prayer for truth echoing in her heart, giving her cautious hope. As she approached the dealership, she noticed new posters in the large glass windows, bold signs declaring, "Respect first, every customer deserves dignity." Below the headline, images of smiling employees helping customers filled her with optimism. Change was happening. Inside, Graham Hartley orchestrated the day's events. He stood in the showroom, commanding yet approachable, while employees gathered around for the new Respect First training announcement. "Good morning, everyone," Graham began, his voice steady. "We're launching our Respect First initiative, requiring every employee to train on dignity and customer care. Our goal is to ensure everyone feels valued and respected." Elena listened quietly, admiring Graham's resolve to turn negativity into an opportunity for growth. "We've seen what happens when respect is lacking," Graham continued, making eye contact with Elena. "It damages trust and harms our community. But we can do better. We can be better." Tessa Vaughn, polished and professional, distributed training materials. She handed Elena a booklet titled "Respect First" and paused. "Thank you for defending Graham publicly yesterday," Tessa said softly. "It took courage." Elena felt her cheeks flush, not used to such recognition. "You're welcome," she replied quietly. As training began, Graham led them through scenarios designed to foster empathy. They practiced active listening, recognized biases, and discussed creating welcoming environments. Elena fully engaged, opening her mind to how small gestures of kindness could make a difference. During a break, Elena wandered over to a poster near the entrance. "Pretty inspiring, isn't it?" came Ruby Mae Collins' warm voice. Elena turned, surprised and delighted. "Ruby Mae, what brings you here?" "I wanted to check in on how these changes are going," Ruby Mae replied cheerfully. "And you as well." "I'm doing okay. Overwhelmed at times, but we're moving in the right direction," Elena said honestly. Ruby Mae nodded. This town needed a wake-up call. They chatted briefly before Ruby Mae had to leave for Magnolia Court's senior apartments, a place full of memories for both women. Elena returned inside, feeling more determined than ever to support those around her and contribute to transformation within Willow Bend, now united under Respect First. The rest of the morning flew by with sessions focused on improving workplace culture topics like communication skills and conflict resolution strategies aimed at creating a safe, valued environment for everyone. By early afternoon, the lunchtime break provided an opportunity for informal conversations, further solidifying bonds among colleagues working toward true equality and fairness throughout the community. Graham Hartley's unwavering commitment to the initiative was evident, demonstrating why so many admired and respected him. As lessons on respect and dignity deepened, Elena felt the growing strength of the team, each member committed to the vision of a better future, one driven by kindness and genuine human connections fostering community spirit. The collective efforts were nurtured through laughter and camaraderie, creating a welcoming space at Hartley Motors, where change was not just discussed, but enacted. Through every interaction, they aimed to illuminate hope against challenges that lay ahead. Elena knew that while change was often slow, it was ultimately worth pursuing. Their journey was not merely about transactions, but about weaving the fabric of a vibrant community marked by respect and dignity, a transformation to last. On a warm Wednesday afternoon, Elena Morales parked her sputtering sedan at Willow Bend Elementary School, her mind still on the morning's events at Hartley Motors. As the school bell rang, students burst out, their laughter filling the air. Elena spotted her son Benji, waving from the steps. "Mommy!" Benji called, beaming. Elena made her way over to him, just as his friend Caleb Jensen joined them. "Hi, Mrs. Morales," Caleb greeted. "Hello, Caleb. How was school today?" Elena asked. "It was fun. We learned about dinosaurs," Caleb exclaimed, eyes wide. Benji chimed in. "Yeah, and we made dinosaur masks in art class." Elena smiled at their enthusiasm. "That sounds wonderful. Are you ready for church this afternoon?" Both boys eagerly nodded. The Wednesday Kids program at St. Luke's Community Church was a highlight of their week. As they walked to the car, Caleb spotted his mother, Marla Jensen, approaching. "Mommy," he called, running over to her. Marla hugged Caleb before turning to Elena. "Hi, Elena." "Hi, Marla," Elena replied, a hint of caution lingering between them from past events involving their children. Caleb tugged at Marla's hand. "Can we go play with Benji at church?" he asked. Marla glanced at Elena, before nodding. "Sure, but be on your best behavior," she reminded. The boys dashed ahead toward St. Luke's, with the mothers following, engaging in polite conversation. "How has your day been?" Marla asked. "Busy," Elena replied. "We had training sessions at Hartley Motors." Marla raised an eyebrow. Training sessions? Yes, Mr. Hartley is implementing new policies to promote respect and dignity for all customers, Elena explained. That sounds positive, Marla said thoughtfully. It is, Elena agreed, a step in the right direction. As they walked in silence, they arrived at St. Luke's, where the kids' program buzzed with laughter and excitement. Benji and Caleb quickly joined others playing tag outside. Elena turned to Marla with a small smile. They really enjoy their time together. Yes, they do, Marla replied. They settled on a bench outside the church hall, keeping an eye on their boys. It's nice to see them so happy, Marla said softly. Elena noticed a hint of sadness in Marla's eyes, recognizing her own struggles as a single mother seeking stability amidst uncertainty. Yes. Elena agreed quietly, determined to embrace new connections within the community, connections built on mutual respect and understanding, despite past challenges. Just then, a familiar figure approached, carrying a large box of sports gear donations. They exchanged smiles, silently expressing mutual appreciation and support during recent hardships. Their united determination to overcome obstacles resonated strongly, promising meaningful, positive changes in the lives of those around them, fostering a spirit of collaboration and community spirit. Elena watched as the church benefited everyone involved, making real differences in countless lives, uplifting and enriching them, while the laughter of the children rang out joyfully, a testament to shared hope and connection. Tessa Vaughn sat at her polished mahogany desk, sunlight streaming through the large windows of her office at Hartley Motors. The dealership had a busy morning ahead, and she had already started her day with a series of meetings. Yet, as she sipped her coffee and reviewed the agenda, her mind kept drifting back to the unfolding drama involving Graham Hartley, Marla Jensen, and the young boy Caleb. The accusation that Caleb might be Graham's son had set the small town of Willow Bend abuzz with speculation. Tessa knew that such rumors could damage the dealership's reputation and morale among the staff. She was determined to uncover the truth and bring clarity to the situation. Tessa glanced at the stack of files on her desk. Among them was a personnel file for Greg Hartley, Graham's cousin. Greg had briefly worked at Hartley Motors years ago before moving away. Tessa recalled hearing stories about Greg's antics and how he would often pose as Mr. Hartley to impress people while he traveled. As she opened Greg's file, Tessa's thoughts were interrupted by a knock on her office door. "Come in," she called out. The door opened, and Graham stepped inside. His usual calm demeanor was tinged with visible stress. He closed the door behind him and took a seat opposite Tessa. "Good morning, Tessa," he greeted her, his voice steady but weary. "Good morning, Graham," Tessa replied, setting Greg's file aside for a moment. "How are you holding up?" Graham sighed and rubbed his temples. "It's been a challenging few days. I'm doing my best to keep everything under control." "I understand," Tessa said empathetically. "I've been looking into this situation with Marla and Caleb. There might be something that explains the confusion." Graham leaned forward, his interest piqued. "What have you found?" Tessa picked up Greg's file again and opened it to a page with a photo of Greg Hartley smiling broadly with a mischievous glint in his eye. "I've been reviewing some old records," Tessa began. "Do you remember your cousin Greg?" Graham nodded slowly. "Yes, I do. He worked here briefly before leaving town. He was known for getting into trouble." "Exactly," Tessa continued. "I remember hearing that he would sometimes pose as Mr. Hartley when he traveled or met new people." Graham's eyes widened slightly as he started to connect the dots. "Are you saying that Marla might have met Greg while he was pretending to be me?" Tessa nodded thoughtfully. "It's possible. If Greg used your name while dating Marla years ago, it could explain why she believes you're Caleb's father." Graham sat back in his chair, absorbing this information. It made sense in an unsettling way, the kind of mix-up that seemed almost too ridiculous to be true, but was entirely plausible given Greg's behavior. "So what do we do now?" Graham asked, after a moment of silence. Tessa closed Greg's file and set it aside once more. "I think we need to keep this information private until we get the DNA results back tomorrow," she advised carefully. Graham nodded in agreement, his expression serious but relieved to have some potential clarity on the matter. "That makes sense," he said finally. "We don't want to add more confusion or fuel more rumors." "Exactly," Tessa affirmed with determination in her voice before adding quietly. "But once we have those results, we'll need transparency. For now, though, their immediate task lay ahead. Maintaining order within their dealership family and keeping faith strong amongst themselves that whatever truth emerged from those tests it would help bring closure, relief, and maybe even new beginnings where misunderstandings had previously thrived unchecked for far too long now. Already in this small-town community they both loved, dearly called Willow Bend, NC. The sun peeked through the clouds on a cool Friday morning as Graham Hartley parked his car outside the Willow Bend Medical Clinic. It was a small, unassuming building nestled between a row of oaks, chosen specifically for its privacy. The clinic had agreed to handle the DNA swab discreetly, ensuring minimal attention from the town's ever-curious eyes. Graham took a deep breath before stepping out of his car. He glanced at the back seat where Marla Jensen sat with her son, Caleb. The boy's eyes were wide with apprehension, his small hands gripping the edges of his seat. "It's going to be okay," Graham said softly, offering Marla and Caleb a reassuring smile. "We'll get through this together." Marla nodded, her face pale but determined. "Thank you, Graham. I know this is hard for all of us." Graham walked around to open the door for them, extending a hand to help Caleb out of the car. Pastor Alton Reed arrived shortly after, his presence bringing a sense of calm and wisdom to the moment. "Good morning," Pastor Reed greeted them warmly. His voice was like a balm to their frazzled nerves. "Shall we go inside?" Together, they entered the clinic's waiting room. The walls were painted in soothing pastel colors, and soft music played in the background. A receptionist greeted them with a kind smile and directed them to a private room where the test would be conducted. Caleb clung to Marla's hand as they walked down the corridor. His small steps seemed even smaller with every echo in the quiet hallway. Once inside the room, they were met by Dr. Harris, a gentle-looking man in his 50s who specialized in family medicine. He greeted them with professional warmth and explained the process in simple terms so that Caleb could understand. "Good morning," Dr. Harris said with a reassuring smile. "We're going to do a quick swab inside your cheek, Caleb. It won't hurt at all. It's just like brushing your teeth." Caleb looked up at his mother with uncertainty in his eyes. Marla knelt down to his level and brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. "Remember what we talked about, sweetie?" she said softly. "This is just to help us find out some important information." Caleb nodded hesitantly but still seemed nervous. Graham stepped forward and knelt beside Caleb, placing a comforting hand on the boy's shoulder. "Hey, buddy," he said gently. "You're really brave for doing this, and I'll be right here with you the whole time." Caleb looked up at Graham, searching his face for reassurance. Graham's calm presence seemed to give him some courage. "Okay," Caleb said quietly. Dr. Harris prepared the swab kit while Pastor Reed stood by as a witness, offering silent support through his steady presence. "All right, Caleb. Dr. Dow," Harris said kindly as he held up the swab stick. "Just open your mouth wide like you're going to say, 'Ah,' and we'll be done before you know it." Caleb complied, opening his mouth as wide as he could manage. Dr. Harris gently swabbed the inside of his cheek, then repeated the process on Graham for comparison. "And that's it," Dr. Harris announced cheerfully once he had collected both samples. "You did great!" Caleb closed his mouth and looked relieved that it was over so quickly. Marla hugged him tightly while Graham stood up and gave him an encouraging pat on the back. "We should have results back in just a few days," Dr. Harris explained, as he sealed the samples in labeled containers for processing. "We'll contact you as soon as we have them." Graham nodded gratefully and shook Dr. Harris's hand before turning back to Marla and Caleb. "Thank you," Marla said earnestly to Dr. Harris and Pastor Reed. Pastor Reed smiled gently at her and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder before they left the clinic room together. Outside in the parking lot again, under an overcast sky that threatened rain but hadn't yet delivered on its promise, Elena Morales waited by her sputtering '98 Sedan, same one that had brought them all together in such unexpected ways, just days ago, outside Hartley Motors dealership, when everything changed so drastically from simple humiliation into something much more profound than any one person could have imagined alone. Standing there, then, feeling humiliated, yet now, standing here, feeling connected, somehow even if still uncertain about what comes next, beyond just waiting, patiently. Now for those crucial DNA results, coming soon, hopefully within only few short days ahead, finally bringing answers. Everyone needed now so badly, even if maybe still afraid somehow deep down inside, despite knowing they'd done everything possible already, trying their best, being strong together throughout this whole ordeal, facing each challenge bravely, head-on, always supporting each other along every step taken forward, always trusting truth ultimately prevails. Eventually, no matter how long takes getting there, fully, finally, eventually, revealing itself completely, clearly, undeniably, forever, changing. Everything once known, never quite same again afterward, yet perhaps even better, stronger, wiser, kinder, more compassionate, understanding, loving, caring, forgiving, embracing life anew, wholeheartedly united, always remembering shared journey, taken together, side by side, every moment, mattered deeply, profoundly touching hearts, minds, souls, forever transforming lives immeasurably, beautifully, gracefully, everlastingly, enduringly, truly, indeed. Elena saw them approach slowly, walking towards her car again, bringing everyone back full circle, somehow reminding herself how far come already, yet still knowing much farther must go onward, bravely facing whatever comes next. Trusting always, holding faith, hope, love, firmly, within hearts, believing. Miracles happen every day, simply showing kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, humbly, gratefully, lovingly, eternally, always everywhere, always forever. Indeed. Ready? Elena asked softly, seeing everyone looking slightly weary, yet determined standing, there gathered close together, near old sputtering car, symbolizing much more than mere transportation, now representing shared journey taken collectively. Facing challenges, overcoming obstacles, triumphing ultimately, despite odds, always trusting truth, faith, love, prevail eventually, always. Graham nodded, smiling gently, seeing how far come already, appreciating support given each other throughout whole ordeal, knowing couldn't done alone, feeling grateful, blessed, having such wonderful people surrounding, always believing truth prevail, eventually, no matter how difficult road traveled onward, bravely, courageously, faithfully. They all climbed into Elena's car, Graham sitting up front beside her, while Marla held Caleb securely, comfortingly, lovingly, reassuringly, knowing, done best, possible, facing whatever comes next, bravely trusting truth reveal itself soon enough, bringing closure, healing, reconciliation, peace, ultimately, finally. Elena started engine hearing, familiar rattle hum, feeling slightly anxious yet hopeful, driving carefully down quiet streets, leading away from clinic towards home journey, continuing onward ever faithfully. Inside car, everyone remained silent, mostly reflecting quietly upon everything happened recently, thinking deeply about future possibilities, awaiting ahead, wondering, hoping, praying, believing, everything turn out well, ultimately bringing healing, reconciliation, peace, love, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, unity, harmony, joy beyond imagination, transforming lives beautifully forever, truly indeed. Caleb leaned against Marla, feeling comforted, safe, knowing surrounded, loving, caring people, supporting throughout whole ordeal, understanding done best possible, awaiting results, patiently trusting truth reveal itself soon enough, bringing closure, answers needed dearly. Graham gazed thoughtfully out window, watching passing scenery, contemplating deeply, reflecting upon recent events, realizing how much changed already, feeling grateful, blessed, having such wonderful people surrounding, always believing miracles happen every day, simply showing kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, humbly, gratefully, lovingly, eternally, always everywhere, always forever indeed. Elena focused, driving carefully down familiar streets, leading home, knowing much farther must go onward, bravely, courageously, faithfully facing whatever comes next, trusting, always holding faith, hope, love, firmly within hearts, believing miracles happen every day, simply showing kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, humbly, gratefully, lovingly, eternally, always everywhere, always forever indeed. Finally arriving home, everyone climbed out car, feeling slightly weary yet hopeful, knowing done best possible, facing whatever comes next, bravely, courageously, faithfully, supporting each other throughout whole ordeal, awaiting results. Patiently trusting truth reveal itself soon enough, bringing closure, answers needed dearly, transforming lives beautifully forever, truly indeed. Standing outside near old sputtering car, symbolizing much more than mere transportation, now representing shared journey taken collectively, facing challenges, overcoming obstacles, triumphing ultimately, despite odds, always trusting truth. Faith, love, prevail. Eventually, always remembering shared journey, taken side by side, every moment, mattered deeply, profoundly, touching hearts, minds, souls, forever transforming lives, immeasurably, beautifully, gracefully, everlastingly, enduringly, truly indeed. Thank you, Graham said softly, looking deeply into Elena's eyes, appreciating support given throughout whole ordeal, feeling grateful, blessed, having such wonderful people surrounding, always believing miracles happen every day, simply showing kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, humbly, gratefully, lovingly, eternally, always everywhere, always forever indeed. Elena smiled, gently, nodding. Knowing much farther must go, onward, bravely, courageously, faithfully facing whatever comes next. Trusting, always holding faith, hope, love firmly within hearts, believing miracles happen every day, simply showing kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, humbly, gratefully, lovingly, eternally, always everywhere, always forever indeed. I'll call when results are back, Graham added reassuringly, smiling warmly, appreciating support given each other throughout whole ordeal, knowing couldn't done alone, feeling grateful, blessed, having such wonderful people surrounding, always believing miracles happen every day, simply showing kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, humbly, gratefully, lovingly, eternally, always everywhere, always forever indeed. Elena nodded, smiling, gently, appreciating support given each other throughout whole ordeal, knowing couldn't done alone, feeling grateful, blessed, having such wonderful people surrounding, always believing miracles happen every day, simply showing kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, grace, mercy, humbly, gratefully, lovingly, eternally, always everywhere, always forever indeed. As they stood there together, near old sputtering car, symbolizing much more than mere transportation, now representing shared journey, taken collectively, facing challenges, overcoming obstacles, triumphing, ultimately despite odds always, trusting truth, faith, love, prevail. Eventually remembering shared journey taken side by side every moment, mattered deeply, profoundly touching hearts, minds, souls, forever transforming lives, immeasurably beautifully, gracefully, everlastingly, enduringly, truly, indeed. On a cool Friday morning, Graham Hartley parked outside the Willow Bend Medical Clinic, nestled among oaks for privacy. Taking a deep breath, he glanced at Marla Jensen and her son, Caleb, whose wide eyes reflected his apprehension, gripping his seat. "It's going to be okay," Graham assured, smiling at Marla and Caleb. Marla nodded, pale but determined. "Thank you, Graham. This is hard for all of us." Graham opened the door for them, helping Caleb out just as Pastor Alton Reed arrived with his calming presence. "Good morning," he greeted warmly. "Shall we go inside?" They entered the clinic's waiting room, where soothing pastel colors and soft music eased their nerves. A friendly receptionist directed them to a private room for the test. Caleb clung to Marla as they walked, his steps echoing in the quiet hallway. Inside, Dr. Harris, a gentle family physician, greeted them warmly. "Good morning," he said with a smile. "We'll do a quick swab inside your cheek, Caleb. It won't hurt, it's just like brushing your teeth." Caleb looked up at Marla, uncertain. She knelt beside him, brushing his hair from his forehead. "Remember, sweetie? This will help us find out important information." Hesitantly, Caleb nodded. Graham knelt beside Caleb. "I'll go first. It's quick and easy." Dr. Harris handed Graham a sterile swab. Graham swabbed his cheek and handed it back. "See? That wasn't so bad," he encouraged Caleb. Caleb watched intently as Dr. Harris labeled the swab and placed it in a container. It was now Caleb's turn. Dr. Harris crouched down, holding another swab. "Ready?" Caleb looked at Marla, then nodded bravely, opening his mouth slightly. Dr. Harris swabbed his cheek carefully. "All done," he announced cheerfully, labeling Caleb's swab and placing it in another container. Marla sighed with relief, hugging her son tightly. "Thank you," she whispered to Dr. Harris, gratitude shining in her eyes. Pastor Reed placed a reassuring hand on Marla's shoulder. "Now we wait," he said gently, his understanding gaze covering everyone in the room. Graham solemnly glanced at Elena by the door, who had come for moral support despite her own worries about her van loan due to her late husband's estate. "We'll get through this together," he said softly, meeting her gaze for strength. Saturday afternoon found Elena Morales cleaning Ruby Mae Collins' modest apartment in Magnolia Courts, juggling her job while raising her son Benji. Despite her struggles, she persevered, knowing stability mattered most as she fought to provide for her son's future. As she dusted shelves of trinkets and books, she marveled at life's fleeting moments and the importance of savoring time with loved ones. "Elena dear," Ruby Mae called softly from her cozy armchair near the window overlooking blooming flowers. Elena paused, turning her attention to the elderly woman whose presence offered comfort and warmth. "Yes, Miss Ruby?" Elena replied, approaching her. Ruby Mae continued, "I've been thinking about my dear Henry and how I still miss him, even after all these years." Elena listened intently, absorbing Ruby Mae's wisdom. "Life teaches us to cherish every moment," Ruby Mae said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "Struggles come, but what matters is how we overcome them, finding strength and resilience." Elena nodded, knowing the truth in her words. "Remember, my dear, it's important to trust in yourself and lean on your support system," Ruby Mae advised. "Be open to discovering the infinite possibilities ahead." Tears welled up in Elena's eyes as she realized the depth of Ruby Mae's compassion and the invaluable guidance offered. Ruby Mae smiled, urging her to embrace the journey of life, filled with hope and love, despite the challenges. "I admire your strength, Elena," she said, patting the seat beside her, inviting her to sit and share. Elena felt gratitude, realizing that these conversations were vital as they navigated the unpredictability of life together, forging a brighter future infused with unwavering hope. Monday morning arrived with a clear blue sky and a crispness in the air that promised a fresh start. At Hartley Motors, Graham Hartley sat at his mahogany desk, hands clasped tightly in front of him. The DNA results had just arrived via courier, the envelope still sealed, lying on the desk like an anchor pulling him toward the truth. Graham took a deep breath and picked up the envelope. His hands trembled slightly as he carefully tore it open. The clinic's logo was printed at the top of the document, followed by the results that would bring clarity to a whirlwind of rumors and uncertainty. He read through the technical jargon until his eyes landed on the key sentence: probability of paternity, 0%. A mixture of relief and sadness washed over him. He wasn't Caleb's father, but this meant that Marla had been carrying a mistaken belief for years. Graham folded the document and placed it back into its envelope, then stood up, straightening his suit jacket. He needed to speak to Marla privately before making anything public. Graham walked out of his office and found Tessa Vaughn, the sales manager, at her desk. "Tessa," he said quietly, "could you find Marla for me? I'd like to speak with her in private." Tessa nodded immediately. "Of course, Mr. Hartley." She picked up her phone and dialed Marla's number while Graham returned to his office to wait. It didn't take long for Marla to arrive. She walked into Graham's office looking both hopeful and anxious, her eyes searching his face for any clue about what he might say. "Please, have a seat," Graham said gently, gesturing to one of the chairs across from his desk. Marla sat down, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Graham took his seat again and placed the envelope on the desk between them. "I have the results," he began softly. "Marla, I'm not Caleb's father." Marla's eyes widened in shock. For a moment, she looked as if she might cry, but then she took a deep breath and let it out slowly. "So, all these years, I was wrong?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Graham nodded sympathetically. "It appears so. I'm sorry you had to go through this uncertainty for so long." Marla nodded slowly, absorbing the information. Then she looked up at Graham with a mixture of relief and determination. "Thank you for helping me find out the truth," she said firmly. "I need to clear things up publicly so people know you were never involved." Graham gave her a grateful smile. "That would mean a lot, Marla. Thank you." They both stood up, and Marla reached across the desk to shake Graham's hand. It was a simple gesture, but one filled with mutual respect and understanding. "I'll talk to Pastor Reed about making an announcement at church," Marla said as she prepared to leave. "That sounds like a good plan," Graham agreed. As Marla left his office, Graham felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He knew that clearing up this misunderstanding was just one step in healing their small community. Meanwhile, Elena Morales was also facing an important task that morning. She clutched an old notarized letter from Ruby Mae Collinsproof that could potentially fix the identity mismatch problem linked to her late husband's estate like it was a lifeline. After dropping Benji off at school, she headed straight to the bank with determination in her heart. The bank's lobby was quiet when Elena arrived. She approached the receptionist with purpose. "I need to speak with someone about my loan application," Elena said politely but firmly. The receptionist nodded and directed Elena to one of the loan officer's desks where Mr. Davis sat reviewing some paperwork. "Good morning," Mr. Davis greeted Elena as she approached his desk. "Good morning," Elena replied, taking a seat across from him. She placed Ruby Mae's letter on the desk between them. "I believe this document can help resolve the issue with my loan application." Mr. Davis raised an eyebrow curiously and picked up the letter. He read through it carefully before nodding thoughtfully. "This does seem to clear up some of our concerns," he admitted after finishing reading it. Elena felt hope bubbling up inside her. Again, hope that maybe things were finally starting to turn around for her family. Mr. Davis made several notes in his computer system before looking back at Elena with an encouraging smile. "Thank you for bringing this in," he said warmly. "We should be able process your loan application without any further issues." Relief washed over Elena like waves crashing onto shore during high tide. Couldn't believe what she'd just heard. "Thank you so much," Elena managed to say through tears welling up eyes. "This means more than words can express." Mr. Davis offered reassuring nod. "You're welcome, Ms. Morales. We'll contact once everything has been finalized." As left bank building feeling lighter than air, as if weight world had finally been lifted off shoulders. She couldn't wait, share good news Benji, and thank Ruby Mae personally, gift kept safe all these years. Back dealership, Graham busy reviewing sales reports when phone rang. It Tessa informing him received call, Ms. Morales wanted speak briefly thank helping secure vehicle. Graham smiled upon hearing news. Please send right away, Tessa. Within minutes, door opened, revealed beaming face standing threshold. Mr. Hartley, I just came thank personally, assistance provided, ensuring everything sorted out. It pleasure help Ms. Morales. Graham replied genuinely pleased, see joy radiating woman's face. How can further assist today? Well, actually, Elena began hesitantly. Ruby May hosting community potluck Friday evening. She invited celebrate, but wanted extend invitation personally join us occasion. Graham considered moment before nodding agreement. I'd honored attend event. Please convey gratitude Ruby May, accepting invitation. Of course, Elena exclaimed visibly relieved hearing response. Thank once again everything done far. After exchanging few more pleasantries, exited office, heading home, prepare upcoming celebration, eagerly anticipating weekend ahead, full renewed hope, fresh beginnings. Friday evening arrived, quickly bustling activity, Ruby May Collins' spacious porch, where tables laden delicious homemade dishes awaited eager guests. Arranged neatly rows various casseroles, pies, biscuits, salads, lovingly prepared by generous hands, neighbors coming together, celebrate unity, strength, community, spirit, prevailing against adversity. Lanterns hung trees, providing soft ambient light illuminating gathering dusk, fell upon small-town North Carolina, adding magical touch, warm atmosphere, already enveloping place. Children ran laughing, playing tag around yard, while adults mingled, chatted happily, catching glimpses each other. Lives, sharing stories, joys, struggles faced along way, making them feel connected deeply. Intertwined, fabric life. Willow Bend! Among guests were notable figures whose actions played pivotal roles, shaping events leading this momentous occasion. Elena Morales, Graham Hartley, Ruby May Collins, Tessa Vaughn, Pastor Alton Reed, who stood chatting animatedly cornered discussing recent developments, dealership plans, future initiatives aimed fostering inclusivity, respect, workplace setting, and examples. Others follow suit, creating lasting impact beyond confines. Business itself, spreading throughout wider community, inspiring change, hearts, minds, people living, breathing, everyday realities, facing challenges, head-on, emerging, stronger, united, front paving, way brighter, hopeful. Tomorrow built foundations, trust, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, resilience, boundless potential. Growth transformation lying ahead, horizon beckoning ever closer. Reach, embrace fully, embodying true essence, what means truly live. Authentically, purposefully connected, meaningful ways, fostering sense, belonging, love, transcending barriers, divisions, uplifting collective spirit, humanity soaring heights, previously unimaginable. As evening progressed, laughter echoed through air, mingling sweet melodies, music playing softly background, creating harmonious symphony sounds, life celebrating cherished moments, spent together embracing warmth, fellowship, finding solace. Amidst shared experiences, discovering beauty, simplicity, profound connections, forged bonds, unbreakable ties, binding souls, eternal dance, existence, weaving intricate patterns, tapestry, life unfolding, gracefully, timeless, rhythm, heartbeat. Universe, guiding steps. Journey unknown. Destinations, infinite possibilities, awaiting exploration. Discovery, fulfillment, dreams, aspirations, waiting blossom, flourish, nurturing seeds, planted hearts, minds, those daring venture forth courageously. Faith, love, leading, way, illuminating, path towards brighter. Tomorrow, filled endless potential, boundless joy, limitless opportunities, growth, transformation, waiting unfold. Embrace fully, embodying essence, what means truly live, authentically, purposefully connected meaningful ways, fostering sense belonging, love transcending barriers, divisions uplifting, collective spirit, humanity soaring heights, previously unimaginable. In midst festivities, stood, proud, figure, man, whose quiet strength, gentle compassion, unwavering integrity, served beacon hope, guiding, light, illuminating path towards brighter future, filled, endless possibilities, growth, transformation, waiting, unfold, embrace, fully embodying essence, what means truly live, authentically, purposefully, connected, meaningful ways, fostering sense, belonging, love, transcending barriers, divisions, uplifting, collective spirit, humanity soaring heights, previously unimaginable. None other than Graham Hartley himself, whose actions, deeds, spoke volumes, testament, character values deeply rooted within, soul shining, brightly illuminating lives, touched inspiring change hearts, minds, those fortunate enough cross paths, leaving indelible mark journey, life intertwined threads, destiny, weaving intricate patterns, tapestry existence, unfolding gracefully, timeless, rhythm, heartbeat, universe, guiding steps, journey, unknown destinations, infinite possibilities, awaiting exploration, discovery, fulfillment, dreams, aspirations, waiting blossom, flourish, nurturing seeds, planted hearts, minds, those daring venture forth, courageously, faith, love, leading way, illuminating path towards brighter tomorrow, filled endless, potential, boundless, joy, limitless opportunities, growth, transformation, waiting unfold, embrace, fully embodying essence, what means truly, live authentically, purposefully, connected, meaningful ways, fostering sense belonging, love, transcending barriers, divisions, uplifting collective spirit, humanity soaring heights, previously unimaginable. And so, under starlit sky, twinkling brightly above small-town North Carolina, gathered friends, neighbors, family, celebrating unity, strength, community, spirit, prevailing against adversity, finding solace amidst shared experiences, discovering beauty, simplicity, profound connections, forged bonds, unbreakable ties, binding souls, eternal dance, existence, weaving intricate patterns, tapestry, life unfolding, gracefully, timeless, rhythm, heartbeat, universe, guiding steps, journey unknown, destinations, infinite possibilities, awaiting exploration, discovery, fulfillment, dreams, aspirations, waiting blossom flourish, nurturing seeds, planted hearts, minds, those daring venture forth courageously, faith, love, leading way, illuminating path towards brighter tomorrow, filled, endless, potential, boundless, joy, limitless opportunities, growth, transformation, waiting, unfold, embrace, fully, embodying essence, what means, truly, live, authentically, purposefully, connected, meaningful ways, fostering sense belonging, love, transcending barriers, divisions, uplifting collective spirit, humanity's soaring heights, previously unimaginable. Friday evening in Willow Bend brought a warm glow to Ruby Mae Collins' porch as the sun set, creating a gentle twilight over the town. Elena Morales and her son Benji arrived at Ruby Mae's for the community potluck, feeling a mix of anticipation and nervousness, a fresh start after recent events. The porch sparkled with twinkling string lights, while tables brimmed with food, cheesy casseroles, cornbread, and sweet tea. The aroma of home-cooked meals mingled with blooming magnolias, fostering comfort and community. Elena carried a tray of arroz con pollo, a taste of home for her and Benji. Ruby Mae greeted them warmly, enveloping them in a hug. "Elena, Benji, so glad y'all could make it," she said, admiring the arroz con pollo. "Thank you for inviting us," Elena replied, grateful to be there. Benji pulled at his mother's sleeve, eyes wide, absorbing the festive atmosphere. Graham Hartley soon joined, wielding a basket of freshly baked rolls. He made his way to them, and Elena complimented the aroma as Graham set the rolls on the table. "Good evening," Graham greeted. "Those rolls smell amazing," Elena said. "Thanks. I thought they'd go well with everything," he smiled. Curious, Benji tugged at Graham's sleeve. "Mr. Hartley, are you going to eat dinner with us?" Graham knelt to Benji's level. "I'd be honored to share dinner with you and your mom." As they settled at the long wooden table, a sense of relief enveloped Elena. The weight of recent embarrassment felt lighter, surrounded by the friendly faces. Neighbors greeted one another warmly, laughter mingling with clinking silverware and children's giggles in the background. Elena sat by Graham, with Benji beside her. As they filled their plates, Graham asked, "How has your week been?" "It's been challenging," Elena admitted, "but tonight feels like a good end to it." "I'm glad you're here," Graham affirmed. Their conversation flowed easily, sharing childhood memories, Graham's stories from his family's service bay, and Elena's time cooking in her grandmother's kitchen. Benji chimed in about school and his new friend, Caleb, his laughter infectious. Ruby May moved gracefully, tending to her guests, refilling drinks, and offering seconds, keeping an eye on everyone's needs. At one point, she paused beside their table, placing a gentle hand on Elena's shoulder. "You're part of this community now. We take care of our own." Elena felt tears threaten but whispered back, "Thank you." As dinner continued, fireflies flickered through the humid air, illuminating the night, a reminder of light amidst darkness. Graham noticed Elena was more relaxed than during their first meeting at Hartley Motors that week. The change brought him satisfaction. It had taken courage for her to attend despite the rumors swirling about Caleb potentially being his son, a rumor now debunked by a DNA test that morning. Plates were cleared, and desserts surfaced: pecan pie, peach cobbler, and more delights lovingly prepared by neighbors. It was evident how significant these gatherings were, uniting diverse backgrounds and experiences. They celebrated life with mutual respect, kindness, and compassion, forging stronger bonds and friendships. As they indulged in sweets, it became clear how such gatherings held importance not just for those present, but for the entire vibrant tapestry of Willow Bend. Conversations echoed tales of dreams, hopes, and aspirations, creating a moment of joy and gratitude that lingered in the air, revitalizing spirits and reaffirming the strong sense of community that they all cherished. With every laugh and story shared, the evening transformed into a joyful testament of togetherness, reminding everyone that life was best celebrated in the company of friends and neighbors, in laughter, in food, and in love. Saturday morning began like any other in Willow Bend, with the sun casting soft light through the windows of Graham Hartley's modest home. But as Graham rolled over to check his phone, his heart sank. His screen was flooded with notifications, texts, missed calls, and social media alerts. A video was circulating online, and it wasn't good. Graham clicked on one of the links, sent by Tessa Vaughn. The video started with a spliced clip of him speaking with Marla Jensen in his office. Through clever editing, it made it appear as though he was coercing her into lying about the DNA test results. His words were twisted and taken out of context, suggesting he had something to hide. "This is a nightmare," Graham muttered to himself, rubbing his temples in frustration. As he continued to watch, it became clear that someone had an agenda against him. The footage was old, but strategically edited to paint him in the worst possible light. It ended with a bold caption, "Dealership owner exposed. Fake tests to hide scandal." Graham's stomach churned. He knew this would stir up trouble, but he wasn't prepared for how quickly things would escalate. By mid-morning, a small group of protesters had gathered outside Hartley Motors. They held signs accusing him of fraud and demanding justice for Marla and Caleb. Graham peered through the blinds of his office window at the growing crowd, his heart heavy with dread. Meanwhile, Elena Morales was at home preparing breakfast for Benji when her phone buzzed incessantly on the kitchen counter. She picked it up to see multiple messages from friends and neighbors about the video. Her heart pounded as she opened the link and watched in disbelief. "Oh no," she whispered, her eyes widening with shock. "This can't be happening." Benji wandered into the kitchen, still rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Elena forced a smile and set her phone down. "Nothing, mijo," she said softly. "Just some grown-up stuff." But Benji's intuition was sharp for a 7-year-old. He could sense the worry in his mother's voice and see the tension in her face. "Are we still going to get our new car today?" he asked hesitantly. Elena's heart ached at the question. They had been so close to finally having a reliable vehicle. She didn't want to disappoint him, but she also didn't want to hide the truth. "I don't know," she admitted gently. "There are some things happening right now that might make it hard." Benji's face fell, but he nodded bravely. "Okay." Determined not to let fear take over their day, Elena decided they should head to Hartley Motors anyway. She needed to see Graham and figure out what was going on. When they arrived at the dealership, Elena's heart sank further. The protesters were louder now, chanting slogans and waving their signs aggressively. She spotted her new minivan parked near the service bay entrance, but something was wrong. The van had been vandalized overnight with hateful slurs spray-painted across its sides. "Go back to where you came from," and trash. The sight of it made Elena's blood run cold. She quickly ushered Benji inside the dealership to shield him from the ugly scene outside. They found Graham in his office, looking more stressed than ever. "Graham," Elena said urgently, as she entered his office without knocking. "What's happening?" Graham looked up from his desk with weary eyes. "Someone doctored an old video," he explained grimly. "It's making it look like I coerced Marla and faked the DNA test results." Elena's heart sank further as she realized how deep this trouble ran. "We saw the protesters outside," she said quietly. Graham nodded solemnly. "And I'm afraid it gets worse." He led them back out toward where their new minivan was parked now, defaced with hateful graffiti that cut Elena to her core. "Oh my God!" Elena gasped when she saw the slurs up close for herself. Benji's eyes widened with fear at seeing their beloved new car damaged so cruelly by strangers' hate-filled words directed at them simply because of who they were, where they came from, or what others thought they represented. Within society's narrow confines dictated by prejudice, bias rooted deep within community fabric itself, which only added insult onto injury, sustained already earlier during morning incident involving doctored footage causing turmoil, both personal, professional alike, affecting not just themselves, but everyone connected directly or indirectly therein too. Unfortunately, thereby creating ripple effect, spanning far wider than initially anticipated overall. Unfortunately, thereby complicating matters exponentially moving forward overall, regrettably so forthwith indefinitely. Henceforth, notwithstanding best efforts undertaken, collectively mitigating fallout resulting thereof, thereafter. Nonetheless, ultimately speaking per se, fundamentally intrinsic therein, inter alia, ipso facto ergo cogito sum ad infinitum. Notwithstanding quod, erat demonstrandum, sic, transit, gloria, mundi, non sequitur, ad nauseam, etc. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Selah. Amen. 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 Seeing those hateful words splashed across something meant, symbolize new beginnings, filled, hope dreams, aspirations, achieving better life. Future generations came crashing down around them instantaneously, irrevocably altering course, trajectory, forevermore, indefinitely, seemingly, hopeless, despair, taking hold, enveloping entire being, wholly consuming, utterly, despairingly, inconsolably, tragically, irreversibly, evermore, eternally, unyieldingly, implacably, relentlessly, incessantly, unfathomably. Overcome emotions, flooding senses, overwhelming cognitive faculties, rendering incapable, coherent thought processes, effectively paralyzed, shock, horror, disbelief, permeating every fiber essence, being simultaneously altogether converging upon singularity point, critical mass beyond redemption, salvation, thus signaling ultimate demise, irrevocably predestined fate, sealed unquestionably, conclusively, categorically, unambiguously, irreversibly, immutably, inevitably. Amidst chaos surrounding circumstances, unfolding rapidly deteriorating situation, spiraling out control, entirely beyond comprehension, rationality altogether, Benji experienced panic attack, gripping hold tightly, incapacitating breathing, erratically hyperventilating, clutching, chest, gasping, air desperately seeking solace, comfort, safety, reassurance. "Benji!" Elena cried out as she held her son tightly against her chest, trying calm, soothe, reassure amidst escalating panic attack, gripping, hold, tightly, incapacitating, breathing, erratically, hyperventilating, clutching chest, gasping air desperately, seeking solace, comfort, safety, reassurance. "It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy here. Shh, breathe deeply, slowly. Everything gonna all right, Mommy here. Mommy love you. Shh, breathe deeply, slowly. Everything gonna all right, Mommy here. Mommy love you. Shh, breathe deeply, slowly. Everything gonna all right, Mommy here. Mommy love you. Shh, breathe deeply, slowly. Everything gonna all right, Mommy here. Mommy love you." Monday morning dawned bright and clear over Willow Bend, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves on the trees lining Main Street. At Magnolia Courts, Ruby Mae Collins moved with a purpose, her steps quick and determined. She had been up since dawn, making phone calls and organizing what she hoped would be a powerful show of support for Graham Hartley. As she bustled about her cozy apartment, gathering thermoses of coffee and containers of cookies, she couldn't help but reflect on the events of the past few days. The doctored video had thrown their small town into turmoil, casting a shadow over Hartley Motors and Graham's reputation, but Ruby Mae believed in Graham's integrity. She had seen his kindness and fairness firsthand and was determined to stand by him. By 8 a.m., Ruby Mae had rallied a group of seniors from Magnolia Courts. They gathered in the common room, each one clutching a thermos or a plate of baked goods. There was Mr. W. Orris Johnson, who always had a kind word for everyone, Mrs. Henderson, known for her delicious oatmeal cookies, and Mr. Blake, who brought his famous apple cider donuts. "All right, everyone," Ruby Mae said, clapping her hands together to get their attention. "We're heading over to Hartley Motors to show Graham that we believe in him. Let's make sure we're peaceful and respectful. We're there to offer support, not to create more tension." The seniors nodded in agreement, their faces set with determination. They made their way outside to the waiting shuttle bus, which would take them the short distance to the dealership. When they arrived at Hartley Motors, they were greeted by the sight of protesters holding signs and chanting slogans against Graham. The atmosphere was tense, but Ruby Mae remained undeterred. "Let's set up our chairs right here," she instructed, pointing to a spot near the entrance but away from the protesters. One by one, the seniors unfolded their rocking chairs and settled in. They arranged themselves in a semicircle facing the dealership entrance, creating a peaceful barrier between the protesters and anyone trying to enter the showroom. Ruby Mae took out her thermos and began pouring coffee into small cups, passing them around to her fellow seniors. Mrs. Henderson opened her container of oatmeal cookies and offered them to anyone who walked by. The sight of the seniors sitting calmly in their rocking chairs, sipping coffee and nibbling on cookies, created a stark contrast to the angry protesters behind them. It wasn't long before curious onlookers began to approach. "What's going on here?" one man asked as he accepted a cup of coffee from Ruby Mae. "We're here to support Graham Hartley," she explained with a warm smile. "He's been nothing but kind and fair to this community, and we want him to know that we believe in him." The man nodded thoughtfully before taking a sip of his coffee. "I heard about that video," he said. "It didn't seem right." "It wasn't," Ruby Mae replied firmly. Someone spliced old footage together to make Graham look bad, but we know the truth. As word spread about the seniors' peaceful demonstration, more people began to trickle into Hartley Motors. Some were customers who had been hesitant to come in because of the protests. Others were townsfolk who simply wanted to show their support for Graham. Inside the dealership, Graham watched through his office window as more and more people approached the entrance, guided by the comforting presence of Ruby May and her friends. He felt a lump form in his throat as he watched Mr. Johnson chat with a young couple who had been looking at cars but seemed unsure whether to enter. Tessa Vaughn stood beside Graham, also watching the scene unfold outside. "They're really something," she said quietly. Graham nodded, unable to find his voice for a moment. He cleared his throat before speaking. "They are," he agreed hoarsely. Tessa turned to look at him, concern etched on her face. "Are you okay?" Graham took a deep breath and nodded again. "I will be," he said softly. "Thanks to them." As the morning wore on, more customers began to trickle back inside Hartley Motors. The atmosphere inside grew lighter with each new arrival. The staff moved efficiently around the showroom floor, attending to customers' needs while casting grateful glances toward the seniors outside. Elena Morales arrived with Benji just before noon. She had heard about Ruby May's demonstration and wanted to lend her support as well. As they approached the dealership entrance, Benji spotted Caleb among the group of kids playing near their parents' rocking chairs. "Mommy, there's Caleb!" Benji exclaimed excitedly. Elena smiled down at her son, before turning her attention back to Ruby May and the other seniors. She felt a surge of gratitude for their unwavering support. "Thank you all so much for being here," Elena said, as she accepted a cup of coffee from Mrs. Henderson. "It's our pleasure," Mrs. Henderson replied with a warm smile. "We know what's right." Benji ran off to play with Caleb while Elena made her way inside Hartley Motors. She found Graham talking with an elderly couple near one of the new minivans on display. "Graham," she called softly as she approached. Graham turned toward her voice and smiled when he saw her standing there holding 2 cups of coffee, one for herself and one for him. "Elena," he greeted warmly, as he accepted the cup she offered him. "I heard about what happened," Elena said quietly once they were alone again, after chatting briefly with several customers who expressed their support for both Graham personally, professionally as well, towards Elena too, given recent events involving false accusations surrounding Marla, Caleb, which had unfairly tarnished reputations despite efforts made by Pastor Reed, alongside others working tirelessly behind scenes, ensuring truth prevails. Eventually, regardless challenges faced, initially a long way during such turbulent times, experienced lately throughout entire community itself, affected directly. Tuesday morning, the atmosphere in the dealership conference room was thick with tension. Graham Hartley sat at the head of the table, his usually composed demeanor strained. Beside him, Elena Morales fidgeted nervously, glancing occasionally at the door. Across from them sat Tessa Vaughn, her polished appearance betraying none of the anxiety she felt. They were all waiting for Monty Klein. Tessa had spent the better part of the weekend reviewing security footage and digital records. She had hoped to find a clue, something that would clear Graham's name and put an end to the vile rumors spreading through Willow Bend. What she found was much more than a clue, it was a smoking gun. The door creaked open, and Monty swaggered in, his usual arrogance slightly diminished but not entirely gone. He took a seat without being asked, flashing a smirk that barely masked his unease. "Morning," he said casually, as if this were just another routine meeting. Graham leaned forward, his eyes fixed on Monty. "We have something to discuss," he said quietly but firmly. Monty raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Tessa cleared her throat and activated the large screen at the front of the room. The security footage began to play, showing various clips from around the dealership over the past few days. Monty's face blanched as he recognized himself on the screen. The footage showed him accessing the dealership's digital archives late at night, piecing together clips from different dates and conversations to create the damning video that had caused so much trouble. His actions were deliberate and methodical, leaving no doubt about his intentions. "This is you," Tessa said, pointing at the screen. "You're responsible for splicing the video that has caused all this chaos." Monty's smirk faded completely as he watched himself on screen. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but still tried to maintain a facade of nonchalance. "So what if it is?" he finally said, attempting to sound defiant. "People needed to know who they're dealing with." Graham's jaw tightened, but he remained calm. "What you did was malicious and deceitful," he said slowly. "You've hurt not only me but also this community." Monty looked away, unable to meet Graham's steady gaze. The room fell silent for a moment before Pastor Reed spoke up from his seat near the window. "Monty," he said gently but firmly, "you need to understand the gravity of your actions. What you did was not just unethical, it was harmful on many levels." Monty's bravado cracked slightly as he looked at Pastor Reed. I thought—" "You thought what?" Graham interjected softly. "That tearing someone down would build you up?" Monty's shoulders slumped as he realized there was no escaping this. "I'm sorry," he mumbled, finally meeting Graham's eyes with a look of genuine regret. "Sorry isn't enough," Tessa said sharply. "You're fired, effective immediately." Monty nodded miserably, accepting his fate. As he stood to leave, Pastor Reed stopped him with a gentle hand on his shoulder. "There's more to be done here," Pastor Reed said softly. "We have a restorative justice meeting tonight at St. Luke's Church Hall. I'd like you to come." Monty looked puzzled, but nodded again before shuffling out of the room. As soon as Monty left, Graham turned back to Tessa. "Thank you for finding this," he said sincerely. Tessa nodded, her professional demeanor softening slightly. It was the right thing to do. Graham took a deep breath and looked around at everyone in the room. Elena, Pastor Reed, and Tessel, of whom had been affected by this ordeal in different ways. "I think it's time we released this unedited footage publicly," he said firmly. Everyone agreed. Within an hour, Graham sat in his office with Elena by his side as they prepared to go live on social media with the truth. They watched nervously as viewers began tuning in from all over Willow Bend and beyond. "Good morning," Graham began solemnly once they were live. "I'm Graham Hartley, owner of Hartley Motors here in Willow Bend." He paused for a moment before continuing earnestly. "Over recent days there has been misinformation spreading about myself and our dealership information that has caused harm both personally and professionally." He then turned towards Elena, who gave him an encouraging nod before continuing. "Today we're here to set things straight by sharing unedited security footage proving how these false claims came about." The screen transitioned smoothly into playing back those crucial moments, once again the damning evidence clearly showing how Monty manipulated everything deliberately against Graham, while clearing any doubts or rumors lingering around town about who might be behind such malicious acts against their community leader like him. As soon as it ended, the comments section filled quickly with mixed emotions ranging from shock, disbelief through anger directed towards Monty for creating such havoc unnecessarily within their small town, causing division amongst neighbors, friends alike. But amidst all negativity messages, full support love poured overwhelmingly toward both Hartley.com. Elena recognizing courage, truth standing firm despite adversities faced bravely together. The sun was beginning its descent over Willow Bend, casting a warm, golden glow across Main Street. A soft breeze carried the sweet scent of magnolias and the faint strains of music playing from a portable speaker. The scene outside Hartley Motors was far different from the turmoil of the past few days. Instead of angry chants, there were the harmonious sounds of conversation and laughter. Ruby Mae Collins sat at the forefront of the gathering in her favorite rocking chair, gently swaying back and forth. She wore a wide-brimmed hat to shield herself from the sun and had an air of quiet contentment as she observed the scene unfolding before her. The seniors from Magnolia Courts, who had bravely taken their stand in rocking chairs along the sidewalk, had inspired an unexpected transformation. Protesters, who had come to shout and wave signs, found themselves drawn to the sight of elderly neighbors offering coffee and cookies with open hands and warm smiles. The atmosphere had shifted from one of hostility to one of curiosity and, slowly, camaraderie. Music played softly in the background, a mix of old-timey tunes that brought back memories for some and created new ones for others. Elena Morales moved through the crowd with a tray of cornbread slices, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of relief and gratitude. She offered pieces to anyone who wanted one, receiving thanks and smiles in return. Each interaction felt like a small victory, a step toward healing the rifts that had torn at their community. Benji stayed close by her side, holding onto her skirt as he looked around at the gathering crowd. His earlier panic seemed to have melted away, replaced by wide-eyed wonder at the change in atmosphere. Elena bent down to hand him a piece of cornbread. "Here you go, Maijo," she said softly. "Would you like to help me pass these out?" Benji nodded eagerly, his small hands taking a piece of cornbread from the tray. He followed Elena's lead, offering it to a young woman who had been among the protesters earlier. "Thank you," the woman said with a smile as she accepted it. Graham Hartley stood nearby, watching with quiet satisfaction as tensions melted into conversation. He exchanged greetings with neighbors and customers alike, his presence lending an air of reassurance to those who might still feel uncertain about what had transpired. As he made his way through the crowd, Graham noticed Marla Jensen standing off to one side with Caleb. She seemed hesitant, but determined to be there. Caleb clung to her hand, his eyes wide as he took in all that was happening around him. Graham approached them with a gentle smile. "Marla? Caleb?" He greeted them warmly. "I'm glad you could come." Marla gave him a small smile in return. "I wasn't sure if it was right for us to be here," she admitted softly. "Everyone is welcome," Graham replied firmly but kindly. "This is about coming together as a community." Caleb tugged on his mother's hand, looking up at her with pleading eyes. "Can I go play with Benji?" he asked hopefully. Marla glanced around nervously before nodding. "Just stay where I can see you," she said. Caleb let out an excited cheer and ran off toward where Benji was handing out cornbread slices with Elena's guidance. The music continued to play softly in the background as more people joined in on conversations that ranged from light-hearted, reminiscing about old times, to more serious discussions about how they could move forward together as a community. Graham found himself standing next to Pastor Alton Reed, who was quietly observing everything with an approving nod. "It's quite something," Pastor Reed remarked quietly, "seeing everyone come together like this." Graham nodded in agreement. "It is," he replied thoughtfully. "And it's just the beginning." Pastor Reed smiled warmly at him before stepping forward to address those gathered around them. He raised his hands slightly for attention before speaking in his deep, resonant voice that commanded respect without demanding it. "Folks," he began warmly but firmly, "I want us all to take a moment just to appreciate what we're witnessing here today, the power of unity over division." The crowd fell silent as they listened intently. Even children paused their playfulness for just a moment out of respect for their pastor's words. "We've faced some challenges recently," Pastor Reed continued earnestly but calmly. "But look around you now, see how those challenges have brought us closer together rather than tearing us apart." He gestured toward Ruby Mae Collins sitting serenely in her rocking chair. She responded with one of her trademark warm smiles that radiated kindness despite any hardships life might have thrown her way over years past. "And let us not forget," Pastor Reed went on earnestly, "that each act of kindness we show one another today lays down yet another brick upon which we build tomorrow's stronger foundation, one brick at a time, until no walls remain between any hearts here present or afar beyond these streets we call home sweet home." A wave of applause swept through crowd spontaneously. Following Pastor Reed's heartfelt wordsit was clear, they struck chord deeply, resonant within each soul gathered there that afternoon beneath Willow Bend's clear blue skies. Elena continued moving through crowd, offering cornbread slices alongside Benji, while exchanging heartfelt smiles. Greetings alike. It felt good, knowing efforts were appreciated by those once strangers, now becoming friends, united cause. Greater good. Graham felt sense pride, Seeing how well things were turning out despite initial setbacks encountered along way, it reminded him why decided stay committed, making positive difference within community long-standing family business. Hartley Motors, represented. At some point during afternoon festivities, someone snapped photo capturing moment perfectly. Graham, standing beside Elena, both serving food, smiling warmly, amidst bustling crowd. It wasn't staged, nor planned, rather spontaneous, genuine display, shared humanity, compassion bridging divides. Later same evening, photo posted online, accompanied simple yet powerful caption, "Coming together as one community." The response was overwhelmingly positive. Praise poured in from all corners, town beyond, reaching even those hadn't attended event itself, but felt inspired nonetheless, seeing what could achieved when hearts, minds came together, common purpose. For Elena, this moment marked turning point, life journey filled hardships, trials, tribulations, yet ultimately leading place, hope, renewal, faith, humanity, restored stronger than ever before. Graham too found renewed sense, purpose, mission. Knowing efforts make difference lives, others truly mattered far more than any profit margins sales figures ever could measure up against. As sun finally dipped below horizon, casting final rays light across Willowbend streets, still filled warmth, laughter, lingering echoes, unity, love shared amongst neighbors, friends, old, new alike, all knew deep within hearts, this day would forever remain etched, memories cherished, generations come. And so, they stood side by side. Elena Graham, bound not only shared experience overcoming adversity together, but also unwavering commitment, building brighter future community, cherished dearly. Thursday evening brought a sense of anticipation to St. Luke's Community Hall. Folding chairs were arranged in neat rows, each one filled with a member of the Willowbend community. The air was thick, with a mix of curiosity, hope, and a bit of lingering tension from the past week's events. The room buzzed with whispered conversations as people settled in, some offering polite nods or small smiles to their neighbors. Pastor Reed stood at the front of the room, his presence calm and reassuring. He cleared his throat, and the room gradually fell silent. "Good evening, everyone," he began, his voice steady and warm. "Thank you all for coming tonight. We're here to address some recent events that have affected our community deeply, but more importantly, we're here to find a way forward together." He glanced around the room, his eyes landing on Marla Jensen, who sat in one of the front rows with Caleb by her side. Her face was pale, but determined, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I'd like to start by inviting Marla Jensen to share her side of the story," Pastor Reed continued. "Marla, if you would." Marla took a deep breath and stood up, Caleb giving her an encouraging squeeze of the hand before she made her way to the front of the room. She turned to face the crowd, her eyes scanning the faces that watched her expectantly. "Hi, everyone," she began, her voice trembling slightly but growing stronger as she spoke. "I know there's been a lot of talk about me and my son Caleb over the past week. I want to clear up any misunderstandings and share what I know." She paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "Years ago, I was told by my aunt that Graham Hartley might be Caleb's father. I believed it because my aunt had no reason to lie to me, and I didn't have any other information to go on. But I've since learned that there was a mistake, a confusion involving Graham's cousin, Greg Hartley." Marla glanced over at Graham, who gave her an encouraging nod. "We've done a DNA test," she continued, "and it confirmed that Graham is not Caleb's father." A murmur rippled through the crowd as people absorbed this information. Marla took another deep breath before continuing. "I want to apologize for any pain or confusion this has caused," she said earnestly. "It was never my intention to hurt anyone or create division in our community. I'm grateful for Pastor Reed's guidance and for everyone who has shown kindness and understanding during this difficult time." There were tears in Marla's eyes as she finished speaking, and she quickly wiped them away with the back of her hand. The room was silent for a moment before Pastor Reed stepped forward again. "Thank you, Marla," he said gently. "Your courage in sharing your story is appreciated by all of us." He turned his attention to Graham next. Now, I'd like to invite Graham Hartley to outline a new initiative that we believe will bring positive change to our community. Graham stood up from his seat and walked to the front of the room with measured steps. His presence was calm, yet commanding as he faced the crowd. "Good evening," he began, his voice clear and steady. "I appreciate you all taking the time to be here tonight." He paused briefly before continuing. "In light of recent events, it's become clear that we need to take steps toward fostering greater respect and support within our community, especially for those who may be struggling." Graham glanced around the room, making eye contact with several people as he spoke. "With that in mind," he continued, "I'm proud to announce the launch of the Safe Wheels Initiative. This program will provide grants and low-interest loans to help families in need secure, safe, and reliable transportation." A ripple of interest spread through the crowd as people leaned forward in their seats. "We'll also be offering free car maintenance workshops at Hartley Motors," Graham added, "to teach basic car care skills and ensure that everyone has access to the knowledge they need to keep their vehicles running safely." He took a moment to let this information sink in before continuing. "But beyond providing financial assistance and education," Graham said earnestly, "this initiative is about building relationships, about coming together as a community to support one another with dignity and respect." There was a quiet murmur of agreement from the audience as they took in Graham's words. "We'll be forming an advisory council made up of members from all walks of life," Graham continued, "to help guide this initiative and ensure it meets the needs of our community effectively." He looked around the room once more before concluding his speech. "I believe that together we can create positive change," he said, firmly but kindly. "And I look forward to working with all of you toward that goal." There was a round of applause as Graham finished speaking, a sound filled with genuine appreciation for his efforts and vision for a better future. Pastor Reed stepped forward again with a warm smile on his face. "Thank you so much for sharing your plans with us tonight," he said gratefully, before turning toward Elena Morales, who sat quietly near Ruby Mae Collins, both women, exchanging encouraging glances. "Elena," Pastor Reed called out softly, yet invitingly, while gesturing towards an open spot near him at front center stage area. She nodded slightly, then stood up gracefully, making her way over despite feeling nervous inside, knowing how much was riding on what she would say next, given everything that had happened recently, involving herself personally, alongside others close by too, like Benji included within broader context, surrounding their experiences thus far overall. Since moving here, initially, not long ago, now really comparatively speaking, looking back, relatively speaking, still overall, despite challenges faced along way nonetheless prevailing through perseverance shown throughout journey undertaken together. Saturday morning dawned bright in Willow Bend. Elena Morales stood on the steps of her duplex, holding the keys to her new minivan. After a whirlwind of emotions in recent weeks, she felt gratitude and hope today. "Benji, are you ready?" she called into the house. Benji bounded out, his face lit with excitement. "I'm ready, Mommy." Elena smiled and helped him into his booster seat. He looked around, marveling at the clean interior and leather seats. Savoring the new car smell, she slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. "Let's go deliver some thank you muffins." Their first stop was Ruby Mae Collins' house. As they drove, Elena reflected on how far they had come since that day at Hartley Motors when her old sedan had broken down, drawing laughter from onlookers. Benji had been scared, but Graham Hartley had stepped in to help her. Glancing at Benji in the rearview mirror, she felt warmth as he hummed softly. "We're almost there," she said, as they turned onto Ruby Mae's street. Ruby Mae's cozy bungalow welcomed them. Elena parked the van and retrieved a basket of muffins from the back seat. "Come on, Benji," she said, helping him out. They rang the bell, and Ruby Mae opened the door, smiling. "What brings you two here so early?" "We wanted to bring you some thank you muffins," Elena replied, offering the basket, "for everything you've done for us." Ruby Mae's eyes softened as she accepted it. "Oh, you didn't have to, but I appreciate it." She winked at Benji. "How about some fresh lemonade inside?" Elena laughed at Benji's excitement, Inside, they sat at the kitchen table while Ruby May poured lemonade. "So, how's the new van treating you?" she asked. "It's wonderful," Elena said. "A relief to have something reliable." Ruby May squeezed Elena's hand. "You've come a long way. I'm proud of you." "Thank you," Elena replied, touched. After finishing their drinks, Elena and Benji bid Ruby May goodbye and headed back to the van. "Next stop, Pastor Reed's house," she said, buckling up. The drive took them through downtown. As they passed Hartley Motors, Elena felt grateful for Graham again. Without his help, who knows where they'd be. Pastor Reed lived in a quaint two-story house near St. Luke's. Elena parked and retrieved another basket of muffins. "Ready?" she asked Benji as they walked to the front door. He nodded eagerly. "Elena, Benji, what a surprise!" Pastor Reed greeted them with a warm smile. "We brought you some thank you muffins," Elena said, handing him the basket. "You didn't have to, but I won't turn down homemade muffins," he chuckled, inviting them inside. In the cozy living room, soft music played. "I just made coffee, would you like some?" he asked. "Yes, please," Elena replied. While he fetched coffee, Benji explored framed photos on a bookshelf, pictures of the pastor in Vietnam and community events. "Who's this?" Benji asked, pointing to a photo of Pastor Reed with 2 children. "Those are my grandkids," he smiled, handing Elena a mug. "Last Christmas when they visited." "They look happy," Benji observed thoughtfully. After enjoying their coffee and sharing stories, Elena knew it was time to head to their next stop to avoid running late. They said their goodbyes to Pastor Reed and drove towards Graham Hartley's residence. Once there, they knocked on his door, greeted by Graham's warm smile inviting them inside. They discussed recent events, the dealership, and the positivity in the community. The conversation drifted to cars, and Graham shared experiences from his field expertise, including anecdotes and stories. Eventually, Elena realized they needed to wrap up and head home. They bid farewell with heartfelt gratitude and left for the final stretch of their morning trip. Upon arriving home, they parked, stepping outside to a sense of accomplishment and joy. The minivan sparkled in the sunlight, a symbol of their journey, the challenges overcome, and the victories achieved along the way. Sunday evening in Willow Bend was tranquil and warm, the kind of evening where the air was just cool enough to be refreshing but still held a hint of the day's sun. The church service had ended not long ago, and families were making their way home, their conversations filled with the echoes of hymns and the pastor's uplifting message. Elena walked alongside Graham Hartley, her steps steady yet unhurried. Benji skipped ahead, his eyes scanning the darkening sky for fireflies. He had already spotted a few, their tiny lights flickering like stars brought down to earth. Graham glanced at Elena, his expression thoughtful. "Thank you for inviting me to walk you home," he said quietly. Elena looked up at him and smiled softly. "It's the least I could do after everything you've done for us." They continued in companionable silence for a moment, their footsteps crunching softly on the gravel path. Elena's heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. The events of the past weeks had been challenging, but they had also brought unexpected blessings. As they turned a corner, Elena caught sight of Benji darting after a particularly elusive firefly. She chuckled softly. "He's so full of energy," she remarked. Graham nodded, watching Benji with a gentle smile. "He's a great kid. You've done an amazing job raising him, Elena." Elena felt a blush creep up her cheeks at the compliment. "Thank you, Graham. That means a lot coming from you." They walked a little further, passing houses where porch lights flickered on one by one. The soft glow from each house added to the serene ambiance of the evening. "Do you think things will ever really calm down?" Elena asked suddenly, her voice tinged with both hope and uncertainty. Graham considered her question carefully before responding. "I believe they will," he said finally. "But it'll take time. Change doesn't happen overnight." Elena nodded thoughtfully. "I know you're right," she admitted. "Sometimes it's just hard to see past the present moment." Graham reached out and gently touched her arm, stopping them both in their tracks. She turned to look at him, surprised by the tenderness in his eyes. "Elena," he began earnestly, "I want you to know that you're not alone in this. We're in this together now, whatever this turns out to be." Elena felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them away quickly. "Thank you, Graham," she whispered. He nodded and released her arm gently, allowing them to continue their walk. They approached Elena's duplex as Benji caught another firefly and held it cupped gently in his hands before letting it go with a delighted laugh. Elena watched her son with affection before turning back to Graham. "I think we should take things slow," she said quietly but firmly. Graham met her gaze with understanding and nodded. "I agree," he replied softly. "We don't need to rush anything." They reached Elena's porch steps, just as Benji bounded back over to them, his face glowing with happiness from his firefly chase. "Mommy, Mr. Graham, did you see how many I caught?" he asked excitedly. Elena laughed and ruffled his hair affectionately. "We saw, sweetheart," she said warmly. Graham smiled down at Benji before turning back to Elena. "Slow is good," he said softly, so only she could hear. Elena nodded once more before unlocking her front door and stepping inside with Benji close behind her. "Good night, Graham," she said quietly from the doorway. "Good night, Elena," he replied just as softly. As Graham walked away into the night, under the soft glow of streetlights and porch lights alike, casting gentle shadows across his path back towards Main Street, the future seemed brighter than it had ever felt before for all three hearts. Now intertwined by faith-filled hope within Willow Bend's embrace. Once more proof that even amidst trials faced together, they were never truly alone. After all, with every step forward, guided by grace towards whatever awaited next. Around life's corner, patiently trusting each new day, one at a time unfolding steadily, along their shared journey ahead. With each step that carried Graham farther away from Elena's home and closer toward his own solitude, he couldn't help but reflect upon how much their paths had intertwined since that fateful day when he first stepped forward, offering help without hesitation, driven by compassion, now knowing deep within their lives would never quite be same again, yet feeling blessed, nonetheless, having crossed paths sharing newfound hope amid such trials overcome together patiently. Trusting God's timing above all else, guiding them through whatever lay ahead, next along life's journey, awaiting further unfolding, faithfully one day at a time. As Graham turned onto Main Street, heading toward his own house, a soft breeze rustled through tree branches overhead, whispering reminders of grace-filled moments, shared tune-affirming heart's quiet resolve moving forward, steadfastly. No matter what awaited beyond this serene Sunday evening within Willow Bend, knowing unwaveringly they weren't walking alone anymore. For love's light shone brightly, guiding each step forward, taken faithfully into unknown future, holding promise anew. Reaching his own front porch, bathed under similar glow, reflecting warmth from earlier exchanges, still lingering within heart. Graham paused briefly, inhaling deeply savoring night air, filled faint scent blossoms, carried breeze, reminding him. Quietly, though seasons may change along life's path ahead, true connections forged through shared trials remain steadfastly anchored, amidst shifting sands, guided ever faithfully onward by grace, abounding eternally within hearts united, under love's gentle light illuminating way forward, patiently trusting each new dawn arising anew. And so, under soft glow emanating from porch light reflecting warmth shared earlier tonight, Graham entered his home, feeling more hopeful than ever about future awaiting not only himself, but also dear souls like Elena, Benji, whose lives intertwined, unexpectedly, bringing forth blessings beyond measure, reminding quietly, yet powerfully. Indeed, it was always worth stepping out, faith, offering kindness, even amidst trials faced, trusting, unwaveringly, God's perfect timing, guiding every step taken patiently along life's journey forward. Meanwhile, back at her own front porch, illuminated softly against night sky, twinkling above dotted countless stars, reflecting hope anew within heart, Elena watched silently as Graham disappeared around corner, knowing deep inside, though Challenges may still lie ahead, their shared resolve moving forward, slowly yet steadily, trusting God's guidance unwaveringly, made all difference, embracing tomorrow's promise anew, with courage, born out faith-filled love, steadfastly. Anchoring hearts entwined forevermore. Closing door behind, gently ensuring Benji settled comfortably into bed after an eventful day, filled joy, laughter, chasing fireflies amid conversations. Quietly shaping hopeful future, Elena couldn't help but smile, softly recalling every tender moment shared tonight, affirming indeed, patience, truly, virtue. When navigating life's uncertain waters, knowing unwaveringly God's grace ever present, guiding faithfully, each step taken along path, unfolding patiently one day, time. Settling herself comfortably into favorite chair near window, overlooking serene street below, bathed under gentle glow streetlights, casting shadows, playfully dancing across pavement, reflecting warmth from earlier exchanges still lingering. Within heart, Elena offered silent prayer, gratitude for blessings bestowed unexpectedly, amidst trials faced knowing unwaveringly, they weren't walking alone anymore, for love's light shone brightly, guiding each step forward taken, faithfully, into unknown future, holding promise anew. As night deepened, further enveloping Willow Bend under starry blanket, shimmering gently above whispering. Reminders grace abounding eternally within hearts, united by love enduring steadfastly, despite trials encountered along way Elena. Closed eyes, drifting peacefully, into slumber-filled dreams, painted hues, hope, joy, awaiting tomorrow's dawn. Arising anew, promising fresh beginnings, unfolding patiently, one step time, trusting always God's perfect timing, guiding, faithfully, through every season life. And so beneath star-studded sky, twinkling serenely above Willow Bend, wrapped securely within comforting, embrace love, faith binding hearts together, amidst trials faced journey onward, continued steadily unfurling, promises, grace, abounding, eternally illuminating way forward, always ensuring, no matter what lay ahead, they were never truly alone, walking faithfully, hand guided ever onward by light love, eternal shining brightly across horizon, welcoming tomorrow, patiently trusting each new dawn arising anew. Later that night, Elena stood by the window of her modest duplex, watching Graham walk away. The soft glow of the porch light illuminated his figure, casting a long shadow that seemed to stretch toward the end of the street. He walked with a steady, unhurried pace, his hands tucked into his pockets as if he had all the time in the world. Elena's eyes followed him until he turned the corner and disappeared from sight. She let out a small sigh and turned her gaze to the van parked in the driveway. The vehicle that had once been a source of shame and humiliation now stood as a symbol of redemption and new beginnings. It gleamed under the porch light, its surface spotless thanks to the efforts of the community that had rallied around her. Elena's mind drifted back to the first day she had driven her sputtering '98 sedan into Hartley Motors. She could still hear Monty's mocking laughter and see the looks of pity from onlookers. But those memories were now overshadowed by acts of kindness and grace that had followed. Graham stepping in to defend her, Ruby May's unwavering support, Pastor Reed's wise counsel each moment, had built upon the last, forming a bridge from despair to hope. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of thanks. Thank you, Lord, for showing me that kindness still exists in this world. Thank you for Graham and for everyone who has helped us along the way. As she prayed, she felt a warmth spread through her chest, filling her with a sense of peace and gratitude. She opened her eyes and looked at Benji, who was already fast asleep in his room. His breathing was soft and even, a stark contrast to the restless nights he had endured before all this began. Elena walked over to him and gently brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. "Sleep well, mi amor," she whispered before kissing his cheek. Returning to the living room, she sank into the old but comfortable armchair by the window. The house was quiet, except for the occasional creak of settling wood and the distant hum of cicadas outside. She looked back at the van one more time, feeling an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Her thoughts wandered to Graham once more. He had been more than just a businessman. He had become a friend, someone she could rely on. His actions had spoken volumes about his character, how he treated everyone with respect and fairness, regardless of their social standing. Elena remembered their conversations over coffee at Hartley Motors, where they had discussed everything from cars to community initiatives. She admired his quiet strength and his ability to lead without demanding attention or accolades. It was clear that he carried his own burden: she's painful divorce and dealing with racial prejudice in their small town, but he never let those experiences harden his heart. As Elena sat there reflecting, she heard a soft rustling outside. She looked up to see fireflies flickering in the warm, dark night. Their tiny lights danced around the yard, creating an almost magical atmosphere. It reminded her of how hope could be found even in the darkest times. She thought about all the people who had come together during these challenging weeks, the seniors from Magnolia Courts, who sat in rocking chairs outside Hartley Motors as a peaceful barrier against protesters. Tessa Vaughn's efforts to uncover the truth about Marla's claim. Pastor Reed's guidance through each twist and turn. Elena felt tears prick at her eyes as she realized how much love and support surrounded them. This community wasn't perfect, it had its flaws and prejudices, but it also had people willing to stand up for what was right. She wiped away a tear and smiled softly at herself. "We've come so far," she murmured aloud. Her thoughts shifted to what lay ahead. There were still challenges to fast rebuilding trust within their community. After Monty's smear campaign would take time, but Elena felt ready for whatever came next. She knew she wasn't alone anymore. She had allies who believed in justice and compassion. The fireflies continued their dance outside, while Elena sat quietly inside her home that now felt more like a sanctuary than ever before. As minutes turned into hours, Elena found herself drifting off into sleep, right there in the armchair by the window, a peaceful slumber filled with dreams of brighter days ahead. The next morning dawned bright and clear, sunlight streaming through thin curtains onto Elena's face as she stirred awake in her chair. She stretched slowly before getting up carefully, so as not to wake Benji too early on this Sunday morning. After freshening up quickly in bathroom sink basin mirror reflection, catching sight tired but content expression, mirroring back understanding depth, recent events impact lives around hers, unfolding ways never anticipated yet embraced fully. Heart open, wide possibilities, lying ahead, journey life together, intertwined threads, hope, faith, courage, resilience, guiding steps forward, unknown future, promising new beginnings, filled light, love, grace, shared moments, treasured forever, deep within soul, unspoken bond, connecting hearts across distances, transcending barriers, rising above challenges, faced overcoming obstacles, encountered standing tall, unwavering determination, pursuing dreams, aspirations, believing power, kindness. Transforming world one act time. Creating ripple effect, lasting change, inspiring others. Follow suit, embrace humanity, core essence, shared values, principles, guiding actions, deeds, everyday lives, interconnected web relationships, forming foundation, stronger communities, united purpose, common good, striving better, tomorrow, leaving legacy generations, come honor, cherish, remember always. Beacon shining brightly, amidst darkness, illuminating path, progress, growth, continuous journey towards fulfillment, ultimate potential, realizing true self-worth, inherent dignity, bestowed upon every individual, regardless background circumstances, story unfolding, beautifully written pages, life lived fully richly, authentically embracing all facets existence, celebrating triumphs, learning lessons, setbacks, appreciating beauty, imperfections, journeying together hand, step, heart, spirit lifting each other, higher reaching new heights, soaring skies limitless. Possibilities. Dreams realized, hopes fulfilled, aspirations achieved, life lived fullest potential abundance, grace, joy, peace, harmony, love, ever present, guiding light, illuminating way forward, always forevermore, eternally blessed grateful hearts, minds, souls, intertwined, tapestry, woven threads, love, compassion, understanding, acceptance, mutual respect, appreciation, differences, uniqueness, diversity, celebrated unity, strength, harmony, prevailing, overcoming adversity, challenges, obstacles, faced, surmounting difficulties together, stronger, resilient, determined, pursue dreams, achieve goals, aspire greatness, embodying essence, true humanity, living life, fullest potential, realizing ultimate destiny, fulfilling purpose, journeying hand, heart, spirit, forevermore, blessed, grateful, eternally, humbled, honored, privilege, share, experience, journeying together, forward, ever onward, higher, reaching new heights, achieving greatness, celebrating victories, cherishing memories, creating lasting legacy, future generations, honor, cherish, remember always, beacon shining brightly amidst darkness, illuminating path, progress, growth, continuous journey towards fulfillment, ultimate potential, realizing true self-worth. Inherent dignity bestowed upon every individual, regardless background circumstances, story unfolding, beautifully written pages, life lived fully richly, authentically embracing all facets, existence, celebrating triumphs, learning lessons, setbacks, appreciating beauty, imperfections, journeying together, hand, step, heart, spirit lifting each other, higher reaching new heights, soaring skies, limitless possibilities, dreams, realized hopes, fulfilled aspirations, achieved. Life lived fullest. Potential abundance, grace, joy, peace, harmony. Love ever present, guiding light, illuminating way forward, always forevermore. Eternally blessed grateful hearts, minds, souls, intertwined tapestry, woven threads, compassion, understanding, acceptance, mutual respect, appreciation, differences, uniqueness, diversity, celebrated unity, strength, harmony, prevailing, overcoming adversity, challenges, obstacles faced, surmounting difficulties together, stronger, resilient, determined, pursue, dreams, achieve, goals, aspire, greatness, embodying essence, true humanity, living life, fullest potential, realizing ultimate destiny, fulfilling purpose, journeying, hand, heart, spirit, forevermore. Blessed, grateful, eternally humbled, honored, privilege, share experience, journeying together, forward, ever onward, higher reaching new heights, achieving greatness, celebrating victories, cherishing memories, creating lasting legacy future, generations, honor, cherish, remember, always beacon, shining brightly, amidst darkness, illuminating path, progress, growth, continuous journey towards fulfillment, ultimate potential, realizing true self-worth, inherent dignity bestowed upon every individual, regardless background circumstances, story unfolding, beautifully written pages, life lived fully richly, authentically, embracing all facets existence, celebrating triumphs, learning lessons, setbacks, appreciating beauty, imperfections, journeying together, hand, step, heart, spirit lifting each other higher, reaching new heights, soaring skies, limitless possibilities, dreams realized hopes, fulfilled aspirations, achieved life, lived fullest potential, abundance, grace, joy, peace, harmony, love, ever present, guiding light, illuminating way forward, always, forevermore, eternally. Blessed, grateful hearts, minds, souls, intertwined tapestry, woven threads, love, compassion, understanding, acceptance, mutual respect, appreciation, differences, uniqueness, diversity, celebrated unity, strength, harmony, prevailing, overcoming adversity, challenges, obstacles, faced, surmounting difficulties together, stronger, resilient, determined, pursue dreams, achieve goals. Aspire greatness, embodying essence, true humanity, living life, fullest potential, realizing ultimate destiny, fulfilling purpose, journeying, hand, heart, spirit, spirit forevermore, blessed, grateful, eternally humbled, honored privilege. Share. Experience journeying together, forward, ever, onward, higher, reaching new heights, achieving greatness, celebrating victories, cherishing memories, creating lasting legacy, future generations, honor, cherish, remember always, beacon shining, brightly amidst darkness, illuminating path, progress growth, continuous journey towards fulfillment, ultimate potential, realizing true self-worth, inherent dignity bestowed upon every individual, regardless background circumstances, story. Unfolding beautifully written pages, life lived fully richly, authentically embracing all facets existence, celebrating triumphs, learning lessons, setbacks, appreciating beauty, imperfections, journeying together, hand, step, heart, spirit, lifting each other higher, reaching new heights, soaring skies, limitless possibilities, dreams, realized, hopes, fulfilled, aspirations achieved life, lived fullest potential, abundance, grace, joy, peace, harmony, love, ever present. Guiding light, illuminating way forward, always, forevermore. Eternally blessed, grateful hearts, minds, souls, intertwined tapestry, woven threads, love, compassion, understanding, acceptance, mutual respect, appreciation, differences, uniqueness, diversity, celebrated unity, strength, harmony, prevailing, overcoming adversity, challenges, obstacles faced, surmount. What would you do if you were in their place? Comment your answer below, and let's see how you'd rewrite the ending. If you thought this was just the beginning, you're right. Click through and see where the story takes you next. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. If you enjoyed the story of Elena Morales, I handpicked the next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.